Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 241. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V, right here, ready to go Tuesday night at a regularly scheduled time, 9:14 Central. So glad you guys could be here.
It's really funny that we always picked 9:14 to start. I mean, it's a unique time for sure. We always tell Dana, make sure you're ready by 9:15 so that we can get him in right away.
Well, I'm glad we're here. Glad everyone else is here joining us tonight. Thank you, guys. I am out and about. I'm still in Florida as we got a couple different events that are going on. Of course, we're going to talk about what I just saw, not only last weekend, where I actually ventured up to the International Disc Golf Center, but also what's coming up this weekend in Tallahassee. But in the meantime, I think we got Dynamite.
We do.
Dynamite. How we doing tonight, buddy? Can you hear us loud and clear?
Loud and clear. Can see you both looking really good. Tara, can't hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't hear you, Dana. There you go, Johnny. Thanks.
That's gonna be easy to fix. Dana, there you go.
All right. I trusted you said you could hear us, and you're right here is ready to go with the rest of the team.
Oh, absolutely. For once, I was raring, ready to go, and here Johnny claims the internet's broken. I don't believe that for one second.
I was having a weird issue where it was like super slow, so I went and rebooted everything. Everything came up, and then my computer didn't want to come up, so I had to give that a reboot. And now everything seems to be up and running. The good thing is, literally today, I told Terry I have called AT&T, and I'm going to get a secondary internet connection in my house. So I'll be rolling with two internet connections, a 300 by 300, or maybe even a gigabit by gigabit, and then my lowly Spectrum that they will give me. So these are going to hopefully be a problem of the past.
So you'll have at least one internet that works.
I'm hoping. I'm really hoping.
Well, I think that's a pretty good start. Dana, thank you for joining us, of course. I know you love to give us some updates and details from around the country. What jumped out at you this weekend?
Man, we had a lot of events, a number of A-tier events, and I'm going to start with one out on the West Coast. The Beau Memorial, sponsored by DGA. So this is right outside of San Diego, 3-round event at Kit Carson Park, I believe. And I'm going to start with the women's side. There was 11 total FPO players, only 2 of them above the 900 mark, and that would be Jen Allen and Vanessa Van Dyken. And Jen came out with the early lead. She shot a 57, which was 951 rated, had 4 throws over Vanessa, who shot a 61. But round 2, Vanessa got 3 of those back, and then final round, don't call it a comeback, Vanessa popped off a 56 to Jen Allen's 63 to win by 6 throws. So congratulations to Vanessa. She's been playing some really good disc golf this year. I'm impressed with the early season play. She got the new bag, throwing Discraft this year. But congratulations to her. She played two pretty good rounds. The first round was a little bit below her rating, but it was good enough for the victory. And Jen Allen, as I said, 6 throws behind. Brandy Myers finished 10 throws behind Jen. So it was really a two-person race there for first and second, and then Brandy Myers and Anya Singer both tied for 3rd place. So again, congratulations to Vanessa on that first A-tier victory.
Very cool to see, and to follow that up, and I know she finished, I think you just said a tie for 3rd. Anya Singer had a real feel-good post where after the end of the weekend I saw her make a comment about how she knows that she feels like her game is going in the right direction, and she knows that she can hang with these women. So I think we all have been there at various times in our career of when you may either second guess yourself, or you're struggling, or you haven't quite gotten over that hump, proverbial hump, and maybe this will be it for her. But nonetheless, so of course, congrats to Vanessa, and awesome to see Anya with maybe a little bit of extra fire and confidence under her as well with this. Pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. Now on the men's side, we had we had a 52-person field, and quite a few 1,000+ rated players. Mostly those California pros. Probably a few stragglers from Arizona, but mostly everyone that was north of 1,000 was from California or Finland. Speaking of Finland, Seppo Paju, round one, came out with a 46, which was tied for the hot round on the weekend, I believe. But that was 1057 rated, and that gave him a one-throw lead over the legend, Steven Rico. Steve Rico, I believe last week he won an event in Masters, won the St. Pat's Classic. That was a few weeks ago. But yeah, so Steve Rico opting to play in the Open division this weekend, and one throw off the lead. Him and Seppo pushed round two, both shooting 49s for 1020 rated. And then final round, Steve Rico turned it on. He tied for that hot round on the weekend, shooting a 46. That was 1054 rated. Seppo had some struggles going on. He shot a 54 and actually dropped into third place. And Max Nichols played a really solid weekend, going 1019, 1020, 1024. So slowly getting better as the weekend went rating-wise, and got himself a second place finish and $910. Steve Rico, $1,205. Not too shabby of a weekend there for Mr. Rico.
No, not at all. So proving, I mean, of course, maybe a little home state advantage, maybe not. I know he's not too far from there, but proving that he's clearly still got game, and then becoming one of those elite players that knows he can dabble in the Open or dabble in the Masters, kind of whatever the field or the situation suits himself, is something that he can go out and play in on any given weekend. So very, very impressive over there by Team Legacy for sure.
Yeah, also impressive. Central Coast, they're putting those videos out pretty quickly, turning around pretty quick, and some really solid coverage. I may get into that final round here once I'm done with my Smashbox duties. I want to see Steve Rico tear it up and see what that final round was all about.
Well, don't go too far tonight, Dana, because we've got some pretty major announcements and updates coming for everyone as soon as we're done getting the week in review from you. So don't go too far yet. We got some stuff that might interest you.
I could just blurt the news out.
Oh, yeah, okay, you could, but don't. Or you could. All right, what else did we see?
All right, so let's jump over to the Sunshine State, Florida. Another A-tier over there. Had some big-name players there. This time, the Ron Russell Roofing presents the 2019 Jacksonville Open. 72 total players. This was a 3-round event. And Mr. Ron Russell, PDGA World Champion in 1999, he played this event. Not only did he sponsor the event, but he also, not just sponsor, but presenting sponsor of the event. But Ron Russell played in the event, and after round one, I was super excited to see he popped off a 1035, which had him pretty far up there.
He was like in third place or something.
Yeah, he was. Was he on the lead card, or was it whatever it was? This pretty exciting because his last sanctioned event, according to his PDGA stats, was way back in 2007, the same year that I played in Am Worlds and then turned pro thereafter. And he had only played one event in 2007. So it's been a minute for Mr. Ron Russell, and he popped off that 1035. I don't know how much casual golf he gets in, or if he ever plays any competitive league rounds, or whatever the case may be. But very cool to see him out there and playing. Unfortunately, his rounds didn't get any better from there. Yeah, that's all we'll mention for that. But great first round, Ron, and thanks for sponsoring this event. I know this isn't the first time through.
Jordan Castro said that he hosted the players' party and that his house was epic.
Yeah, I caught some social media clips of it on the gram, probably from Castro, maybe some other people, but it looked pretty epic. And I want to say that he may have even been on like a TV show, like showing off his backyard. It's got a
Yeah,
pool, it's waterfall.
yeah, insane fish tanks or something like that, or whatever it was. It was a few months ago where his house was featured for that exact reason. Yeah. So I will give a little bit of insight, and I'm not going to blurt it all out now, but I'll give some insight on him. I talked to him after the round. I ended up showing up and capturing the FPO round on the final day, and he had said he had tightened up, throughout the weekend. He's not playing any casual golf at all, like ever. He doesn't know what most discs are. He's had everyone from Double G to Lizard Lawyer to a few people send him a few discs here and there. He was missing his pair of magnets that he was so used to throwing, the pink alien stamped ones. I was just grinning ear to ear. I wish there would have been a camera rolling as I got these updates from him right after the tournament. But it was awesome catching up with him. I mean, obviously, such an amazing figure in our game, and he's in such a good place, I think, mentally and physically. And he's playing a lot of ball golf. He's talking about entering a ball golf tournament in the next weekend or two. And here's maybe the real big takeaway, the scoop that I got. He this weekend lit a fire, and I think he said he's 55. He all but laughed at the idea of playing in an age-protected division. And to paraphrase, he basically said these young punks better watch out, because he once he gets back into golf shape, he's going to be ready to go again. And Dana, I mean, think about his first round at, would you say, 1035? What, 99% of the people that ever pick up a disc will never throw a 1035 rated round. And Ron Russell, who hasn't played in a tournament in 12 years, barely plays casually, comes out and busts off a 1035. And yeah, he slipped a little as the weekend went on, but he said a fire has been lit, and I'm going to just mark my words right now. You're going to see Ron Russell in more PDGA tournaments soon. So he said Tallahassee was too soon this weekend, but he's going to be back, and I can't wait. It was such an awesome conversation and a little bit of a blast from the past, but it was a great conversation with him.
And mark my words, if he comes back, we'll see him in an age-protected division.
I go ahead and put it on the tape or check the tapes and mark the record. I don't know that we will.
I believe what he said to you. I think after he if he gets back into it, let's just say like a Stokely, because I think Stokely kind of had that same mentality, and then you saw Stokely be like, well, it might be better for me to play here. I'm not saying we're going to see him in Grands or anything like that, but I wouldn't doubt to see him at a couple big Masters events. I'm just putting it out there.
I know, but he said that his plan, like I said, he all but laughed when I suggested he comes out and I don't even know if I suggested it, but somehow it got around that conversation, and he's ready to take on, Macbeth. And Wysocki stayed with him last year for the Pro Tour Championship. So he played a little bit of golf, and I'm not going to say he wasn't impressed. Of course he's impressed with these guys, but he also isn't scared of them either. And like I said, I had a grin from ear to ear for that whole conversation. It was awesome. So there's a little inside scoop for you, Dana.
I like it. This is good stuff. Now, Mike, one last question. Who plays more PDGA events this year, Ron Russell or Ken Climo?
Russell.
Wow. Per that conversation, I mean, Ron Russell almost made it sound. Now, was he still high on the adrenaline of just, finishing up this round and hosting all these people and being the amazing host that he was and the sponsor? I don't know, but he made it sound like, he repeatedly said the fire has been lit under him. So we'll see if that comes out. I mean, obviously he's competitive, and he said, I didn't like getting beat. This weekend didn't feel good. I'm like, dude, you've been off for a decade. Like, I know you're good, but you took a decade or more off.
Terry, your video dropped out, just so you know. We still have your audio.
Okay. So, yeah, that's all part of it. And we'll see how that ends up going for him. I'll see if I can get my video back.
Cool. So yeah, let's finish talking about the actual event. Calvin Heimberg, round one, came out and really distanced himself from the field. He threw a 55, which was 1074 rated. No one else, Terry, Johnny, no one else even shot in the 50s. Calvin shot a 55. Next best was a 60, which was 1042 rated, and that was shot by Matty O, Miles Seaborn, Nicholas Masters. Smoking round by Calvin. He kind of just put his foot down and said, "Here we are." And round two, he continued the stellar play with a 57, 1048 rated round. But the hot round of round two had to go to Chris Dickerson, shooting a 54. That was 1069 rated. So playing some pretty good golf there, both those guys. Unfortunately, Dickerson shot a 63 first round, so he was still well behind Calvin. And then final round, Calvin kind of just coasted in, beat Dickerson by a stroke during that final round, and by 6 throws overall. Johnny McRae played some good golf, finished in third place, tied with Miles Seaborn. Matty O, Jordan Castro, I believe, who's out on the board, both playing some good golf, finishing in a tie for fifth. But a lot of talent down there in Florida, and it was another Calvin and Chris battle, even though it wasn't say as close as some of their other ones they've had in the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, we're literally just missing a Climo for like the late '90s reunion between Schwebe and Masters, Russell. Obviously, you've got
Johnny
McRae from Florida. I mean, it could vary. Michael Joe's been around for a while. I don't know if he quite hit that late '90s, but he's been around for a bit. It's a lot of fun down in Florida, it appears, and we just have. There's so much good golf, and I don't think that Calvin liked losing at Throwdown the Mountain, and I think he came out with a vengeance, put his foot down in his home state, and said, "This is my territory."
Yeah,
there's not much anyone saying when Macbeth shoots 12, 13, and 14 under.
Well, Macbeth was gone.
Right. No one likes losing, but not everyone can be Superman every weekend either.
I'm just saying, I'm willing to bet Calvin did not like losing, no matter how it happens.
That's a good bet, Johnny.
No matter how it happens.
Oh, Johnny, sweet kid.
All right, Dana, I'm gonna interrupt you quick, and I'm gonna jump in on the FPO side if you're good with that.
Oh, absolutely.
So I ended up going up to the International Disc Golf Center. I caught some action on Friday and Saturday up there. I then I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty exhausted, and I thought I want to go out and get some action here on the final day in Jacksonville because I can double up on the weekends on that weekend. And I really hemmed and hawed. Do I go to a second card? Do I go to a FPO lead card? This was all Patreon supported, so I figured I would go find some FPO action, and it looked like a great battle, and that it certainly was. It was very tight among the top 4 women. We had Ellen Widboom, Elaine King, Madison Walker, Holly Finley, all household names on the lead card. And they went out, they had a great battle. And sure enough, as if it were scripted and as if I hadn't walked enough, it ends in a playoff. They tie. Ellen makes this great putt on these are all spoilers, so you should if you want to wait for the footage later in the next day or two. But Ellen makes this great putt on the 17th hole, and she's got a 2-stroke lead, and I'm like, well, that's that, no big deal. And then Elaine absolutely just dissects the final hole, par 4 with an island type green, and almost throws in a long one for an eagle. It was just a thing of beauty. And Ellen struggles a little bit, doesn't quite hit the island green. And sure enough, there goes her 2 strokes. And sure enough, they go to a playoff. And believe it or not, Ellen's first ever playoff. So as she so eloquently said during the award. She said she was happy that Elaine was her first and that she ultimately became victorious. Now, here's my one challenge or pro tip for not only them, but everyone. If you're in a playoff, A, triple check with the tournament staff you're positively in the playoff. And B, if there's a cameraman that followed you for the previous 18 holes, he's going to want to be there for the start of the playoff hole. So they just went out and got started. I'm like, what are you doing? So I caught up with them in the middle of the first hole, and then we followed them for the next hole. And when it was all said and done, your champion, Ellen Widboom. What a great battle.
Thank you for pronouncing her name, because I would have said her.
That's what I'm here for, buddy. Just pronounce names for you.
You had one job, man. Like, you had one job. Anyways, yeah, congratulations to her. As Johnny said earlier, Schwebe was down there. He played Masters, got himself a nice victory there, doing it with a 57, 10-48 second round, and he won easily by 8 throws. Greg Hosfeld, good to see him out competing, playing some really good golf. He easily won in the Pro Masters 50 and over division. And I don't know, do we have time to talk about one more? We had one other pretty big event.
Yeah, real quick, let's get it, Dana. People are chomping at the bit for this big news.
Ooh, yes, the big news. I can't. But anyways, yeah. So 2019 Texas State Disc Golf Championship presented by Discraft. The 279 total players, 65 of them being in the Open division, and a whopping 19 in the FPO division. Pretty strong numbers right there. Let's start with the FPO division. We had some big names there, and but a newer name, relatively newer name. She's 934 rated, but Valerie Manahueno.
Mundahano.
Mundahano.
Dana, if it makes you feel better, I don't know why, but that name doesn't stick in my head either. And I can say it, and then I look at it, and everything just drops from my brain. It's like it's the one name that I just literally, I can hear it over and over and over and over and still not get it right.
Yeah. Well, I'm struggle bus with these FPO names lately. Sarah Hockham was also there. But anyways, Valerie was winning after round one. She had a 2-throw lead over Sarah, and that's Hockham. And but unfortunately for young Valerie, she didn't have the greatest second round. Hockham and Rebecca Cox both beat her by 10 throws, but she was still up there after having that really strong first round. And it was a really close battle between Rebecca Cox and Sarah Hockham. Ultimately, Sarah was able to squeak out the victory by 3 throws over Rebecca. Lisa Fakis finished in 3rd place. Really good to see her up at the top again. She's had some early season struggles. She went 944, 930, 946. So she was above her rating all weekend. And Jay Weezy and Valerie tied for 4th. So pretty fun stuff. It looks like there for the FPO. Big field. Hockham taking down a win. Probably, I'm going to assume she's just going to get better and better as the season goes on, as she gets more comfortable with those MVP discs. On to the men's side, a lot of you out there probably have caught some of this action on Jomez, but it was the Ricky show. He came out, went 1050, pretty smoking start. AJ Risley tied that, also shot a 1050. So they went to round 2 where Ricky left AJ and the rest of the division in his dust. He shot a record-breaking round for the course, 1051, or excuse me, a 51, which was 1080 rated, and from there he just cruised in to the victory, beating Alex Russell by 6 throws. AJ Risley, Bradley Williams tied for 3rd place. Good to see Bradley up there. He's been battling some injuries. He's been talking about on social media. Sounds like he hurt his shoulder last year, and it's just not gotten better. But Alex Russell, he's having himself a really nice year so far. He, of course, had the smoking final round there at the last Disc Golf Pro Tour, Waco, and played some really solid golf this weekend, 1042, 1028, 1048. I caught one of the rounds, I believe it was round 2, and really impressive sidearm. He's got 400-plus foot power on the sidearm and really strong putt. So I expect Alex just to continue hanging up there at the top. And also good to see AJ Risley bounce back after a slow event and play some good disc golf. But fun stuff. I still got to take in that final round from Jomez, but I am looking forward to that. They've been putting out some pretty good content as Central Disc Coast and Terry, Gatekeeper. It's a good year for watching disc golf. It's difficult to keep up unless you have lots of extra time. There's almost new, hours and hours of new disc golf every week to watch, and that's not even including live.
And what a good problem to have. And I'll piggyback on that quickly. Alyssa Van Lannen has a new segment out, Now You Know. And she did an interview with Bradley Williams where he openly discussed, not only his injury, but a little bit of his reputation and some other stuff. So make sure you go check that out. Of course, that's on Alyssa Van Lannen's page. And more content. Also, I saw another segment out of Paige Pierce's new lineup called Nice Line, where she talks to FPO players about decisions and shots that they threw, and she really breaks it down along with that player and that shot. So I think she just released the 3rd episode of that, and that one features Katrina Allen. So very, very cool. She's had Jessica Weiss, she's had Ellen Widboom, and now Katrina Allen all featured on that. So great stuff. So many great content producers out there, of course, as well. So, all right, Dynamite. Well, I think we can let you go. The content is definitely part of our next conversation and our big announcement, and we look forward to talking with you more about some of that stuff and some future possibilities as we move into the rest of the 2019 season and beyond. So, for now. Got anything else to say before we let you go?
Just give me a second to hop on the live stream so I can catch this news live with everybody else.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Thanks for the updates, Dynamite.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, Dynamite, Dana Vici giving us some updates from around the country. And I think it's pretty fair to say that here at SmashBoxxTV, we have some pretty substantial news and updates ourselves, don't we, Johnny?
Yeah, we're shutting down production. Just everything. The podcast is ending. We're actually no, not at all.
Well, yesterday that might have been good. And we'll get to April Fool's jokes a little later. But yesterday that might have been fitting for April Fool's, or from 9 o'clock to 9:13. I think that might have been a fitting statement tonight. As some of you have seen and heard. As already posted, thanks to our friends at the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It's been announced, and we're saying it here and now that SmashBoxxTV is going to be rejoining forces with the Disc Golf Pro Tour and provide all of the back-end live support to keep the Disc Golf Pro Tour live streaming up and running for the 2019 season and likely beyond as contracts and negotiations continue.
What a great night to announce it after 15 minutes of
right on,
issues.
Johnny.
But no, we are really excited again to partner with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We had a lot of talks with them and with Steve. Wow, it is a night. Steve Dodge about pros and cons and this and that, and ultimately we came to a decision that I think we are better as a team, and that SmashBoxx can bring something to the Pro Tour, and the Pro Tour helps out SmashBoxx. It is a really good partnership for us, and we're excited to bring. I think I said something like we're excited to be able to show everybody the best disc golfers at some of the best events. It's it's what we love to do. We love to live stream, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good year, I think. I think we're going to see a lot of progress in a lot of avenues with the disc golf media and the disc golf pro tour media specifically, clearly. But I don't know what else to say other than we are really excited to make this happen.
Yeah, it's been a lot of conversations, as you just said, and we've not, of course, just been talking with Steve Dodge, but also some of the guys on the PR and the communication side, talking with people like Seth Fenley, talking with people like Jeff Spring, Nate Heinold, all integral parts of the Pro Tour who have a lot of influence and have a lot of input as to what's going on over there. And then, of course, having some really serious and very in-depth, both personal and business conversations with Steve Dodge. And you know, of course, we're not going to get into every detail, but the long and short of it is, on that side, is we've exhausted a lot of topics, and I mean that in a very good way. There's a lot of things that I feel like we all had to get out there and talk about and make sure that we're all on the same page, on the same team, moving forward in all the right ways. And it is really exciting. I mean, I think I speak for both of us when I say, of course, we're honored that we're considered, you know, the, dare I say, the gold standard in live disc golf streaming. And that might be by default, but we're considered, you know, kind of the premier source for doing that. And we've said it all along that there's mistakes that have been made, and we've made most of them. Hopefully those are all behind us, and we've only continued to grow and get better moving forward. And some of that experience, I think, is going to go a very long way in assisting what you know, the Pro Tour media wants to continue to do, and we want to get it back to that level that it was at. And I can say for Johnny and I that we see it only then enhancing from where we were at. Steve made a very significant investment in some newer equipment over the off season. I know that's been talked about, but you know, some new cameras were purchased, some other hardware was purchased. We have more people on staff and on the team to be able to do a better job. So there's been a lot of steps taken to get to that next level, and hopefully many of you guys will see that we're going to take all of those steps, take all of those ingredients, and hopefully, you know, bake the best Pro Tour media cake that we can now moving forward. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know there are a lot of questions out on the board as far as the post-production and the cameramen and things like that, and that's all stuff we had conversations with Steve about. We don't really have much to do with the post-production, although I do know that did weigh into our decision a little bit. I mean, we need to know that we're coming aboard a boat that's in the right direction, and with some of the stuff that Steve has talked about, and I don't think they're necessarily getting into it quite yet. I have a lot of confidence in what's going on. As far as the cameramen go, that also was a decision that we needed to make sure that we made, that we wanted a consistent crew that we could trust. And we believe that we are going to have the same cameramen that were at the other events, at these events, and they will continue throughout the year, which means we will get good progress. We won't have to start over with anybody, and with hopefully a little help on the back end from me and some direction on course from Wade, Ferrari, who's helping out quite a bit, I think we're going to see a much better product all around come out of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And
yeah, and to speak to exactly that, you know, there's someone or more than one person that is actually taking on some of the roles that I've done in years past. Over the last 3 or 4 years, whether I've been explaining or complaining, depending on what ear you're listening with, there's a lot of hats that I've had to wear. And the Pro Tour media, and as well as yourself, of course, Johnny, the Pro Tour media is now getting to a point where that continues to expand and grow. So there are people with more dedicated positions doing very specific tasks and roles. And that's going to allow a little bit more flexibility and some freedoms, and probably for hopefully a slightly less stressful environment, and then all in all, a lot more fun and enjoyable environment for everyone to hopefully succeed at. And Steve and I go back a few years to, at one point we were sitting, it was the first year of the Pro Tour, and we sat down in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. This was back when it was only 5 stops, and him and I were sitting in the parking lot after the event, and we were like the last 2 at the place, and we had a real good heart-to-heart, and we also talked about, it being hard work and things that we're fighting through, and we had said, like, we have to at least be having fun. If we're going to struggle or we're not going to make any money, we have to at least be having fun. And that vision is very much instilled in everyone, that you have to be having fun and enjoying what you're doing in order for us all to succeed. And I feel like that is definitely a large tone and sentiment as we're moving forward. Not too much fun that we're not serious and doing a good job, but we have to be enjoying what we're doing. And I think everyone's set on that path, which is awesome.
Someone asked, what's the first event that we're going to be doing? There were some issues, obviously, during the time, this agreement is recent. I mean, it's literally less than 24 hours old. And so in the meantime, before last November or whenever, between now, Terry and I have made some other arrangements, mainly Terry. I'm going to be canceling some of mine. But so Terry will not be at Jonesboro. I will be. And I think you're going to miss one other event as well. San Francisco, maybe?
At least, yeah.
Okay,
there may be 2. So, and I guess real quick, I'll speak to exactly that. You're going to see Johnny doing the show switching, which he's been doing for the last 3 or so years. You're going to see a lot of well, you're not going to see, but the back end work is going to be done by Johnny V, also Gary to the O, who's been doing a lot of the graphics assistance and help over the last few years. And then due to my prior commitments that I had made other arrangements over the last 3 or 4 or 6 months, I will not be present at a couple of the upcoming events, Jonesboro being the first one. I'm going to instead, for instance, be at the PDGA World Amateur Double Championships down in Cedar Ranch in Texas, the John Houck design, one of the top-rated courses in the world. And I'm super excited to, of course, keep and fulfill that commitment. And that was something that I had in the works. And so those were all part of the conversation that as we moved into, how could we rejoin some of the hurdles and some of the things that we had to consider. So that's one event. And then there's probably going to be 1 or 2 other ones that I may not have any presence at. Excuse me. However, the rest of them, I'll be fully immersed.
And Terry's job, I think, as he said, he'll be wearing, maybe doing some sideline reporting, possibly commentary in the booth. There's a lot of things that Terry can do and does very well. So that is totally yet to be determined at each event, but we're going to get that figured out shortly. So we have a consistent team in place. Some people are asking about the cameramen that we used before. Chad, Rick, Gary. Gary's probably going to be sitting next to me doing camera work or doing graphics work. And Chad and Rick, while they won't be joining the Pro Tour due to cost of logistics and travel, you're going to get some of them probably at some of our other events coming up that we're going to be covering, such as GBO and Worlds and things like that. So we're definitely not leaving our boys behind. But unfortunately for the Pro Tour, it's just not going to work out that way. But trust me, we're going to get them.
Yeah. So those are some of the things, like I said, keep saying, those are some of the things that we've talked about and worked through, and just really looking forward to it. I see a lot of posts or questions coming in off the board. I plan on, in fact, like I said, being at everything for I think it's the last 4 or 5 events, and there might be, like I said, there was one other conflict in there, and I'm excited to do a number of things. One of the comments or one of the considerations that we've had over the last year or so, well, Dixon and I primarily were in the booth last year, is we kind of looked for someone to give us some sideline reporting, be able to check in with what's going on out on the field. And we've kind of missed that since bringing our commentary into a booth. And that's one of the roles that I think I'll be also fulfilling on any given weekend. And everything's going to be worked out probably on a event by event basis. But that's one role that I'm really excited. Whether that's on a chase card or whether that's on a lead card, occasionally I'll be able to give you the actual in-depth, on the ground insight as to what's going on out there. Or you may just cut to me eating a pretzel and cheese. I'm not sure, but I have to see how we wrote that rider. But it will be having that sideline reporting that we've been kind of asking for. Everyone's kind of said that's the next step. We very much plan on seeing Nate and Val in the booth. There may be one or two other commentators that kind of rotate in or out along with them. But Nate and Val, I had a great conversation with Nate last night. And I'll just say I'm honored and flattered by a lot of the really positive comments that he had to say about working with us at SmashBoxx, both Johnny and myself. And it gives you the feels, I think they say, when you have someone of so much talent and stature that says he really wants to see us back on the team and as part of the live solution. And so I know Nate and Val are looking forward to it as well, which is very, very flattering, of course.
The other question, I don't know if you answered, was regarding Dixon Jowers, who we have not had any conversations with. I don't know what's going on Steve's side. I don't believe there has been, but Nate and Val are still on the team, obviously. They're still going to be commentating. I want to reach out to Dixon personally and make sure that we talk to him, because I think we have some opportunities for him, similar to our other cameramen. I think we can bring him on for some other things, and I know he enjoys it quite a bit, and he's a guy that I think is very good behind the mic as well, that his talents, I don't want them to go to waste. So
yeah, and I can't say it enough, and I'll just throw it out there, and everyone has their favorites and their non-favorites. I can't stress enough that I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Dixon Jowers last year when we were in the booth time and time again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I may have made a funny face when he took a picture right before the round, or I may have joked around from time to time. But just for the record, I thoroughly enjoyed my time working with Dixon. So I would certainly welcome any kind of collaboration that we could continue with him. I definitely did enjoy it. So just so it's out there.
That's right. We got options. We got options. A lot of love for Dixon on this board. It's good to see. I obviously I'm a big fan as well. So all right. That's our big news. That's
kind of the big news. Now the question, Johnny, is if we kind of ink this deal on April Fool's Day, like that's like crossing your fingers on a handshake, right? We have outs whenever we want on this.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I know we normally kind of wait to the end, but if you have any other quick questions before we move into our next guest, who's, also talking podcasts, talking media content, we're going to get Mahmoud here on the line here pretty soon. I don't know if anyone else had anything that was pressing, that was life or death, or that we can at least address for now. And it doesn't seem like there is. Jeff Spring, I think you're still going to see involved in some form of commentary and various roles, of course, on the Pro Tour. Seth is obviously still going to be doing social media stuff, so on that side. So looking forward to a lot of the same team, and then an addition or re-edition of Johnny, Gary, and I, and it should be great. All right, Johnny, do you have any of Mahmoud's information? I'm guessing you don't, because he probably only gave it to me.
Probably. If you send it to me, I'll get it.
All right, that makes sense. Well, while I'm stalling for 10 seconds or a little longer, I also wanted to say sign up. Skyline Classics taking place in a couple weeks when I get home. Myself, Tom McManus are going to be hosting that. It's a little more than half full. Last time I checked, I don't know if we have 80 or 90 registered out of 144, so it's going quite well, and we want everyone to get registered for that. In the meantime, I'm going to see if I have his information. I wish I would have forwarded it to you earlier. And, well, I'm also stalling. I'm going to make a quick plug. The Collegiate Championships is posted. I got the doubles from Friday afternoon is posted along with commentary. That went up yesterday. And then today I posted the singles finals. And tomorrow I have the doubles finals should be going up. So look for that.
Yep, I've got Mahmoud's info on. Here, let me do this.
No, I got it.
All right. Now, I think I can take... Oh, we've got Mahmoud. And... Oh, I think... I must have... Did I lose Terry Miller here? Let's see if we can bring him back. There we go. I think we're getting Terry on the line now.
All right. I am here, I believe.
All right. Hold on one second. Let me get all this set up here. So we can...
I can hear everybody. That's a first. That's good.
Well, there's a first for everything, right?
So let me quickly say, Mo, I don't think I've ever even attempted to pronounce your last name, so I don't want to get put in the Dana category. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, including your last name, so we all know?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Mahmoud Bahrani. The H actually doesn't exist in English, so it would be very hard for you to pronounce it.
Okay, say it again.
Mahmoud Bahrani.
Okay. So we'll go with Mo. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Thanks for joining us. I don't think I'm calling you out too much. You have discussed with me in the past saying that you enjoy the long format that SmashBoxx provides, and you apparently have been watching a lot of Disc Golf Guy video blogs throughout the years. You've said.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I'm the biggest SmashBoxx apologist. If anybody thinks the podcast is too long, you just don't get the show. It's a you problem, not a SmashBoxx problem.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been going through your old vlogs are a cove of research. It just has all these interviews with players 9 years ago, and it's all super interesting. You can seeing Barsby 9 years ago is so cool, and or seeing I don't know, Avery or any of these people, and just kind of hearing their opinions on things and how they've changed over time, I just think is really interesting. So
everyone, including myself, we've all slimmed down throughout the years, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
The camera's HD, all that. So what's really exciting, though, is you've been doing a lot of different media work. Give us, real quick, for those who don't know, give us a little bit of your background pre this year even.
The last 5.5 years, I worked at ESPN, which was super cool, dream come true. I just left in December to move to New York City to live with my girlfriend, who's a professor at Columbia. So, it was a big leap. And, I was kind of struggling finding a new job after ESPN, and I was talking to Ian Anderson about this, and I was like, yeah, man, job search has kind of been tough. And he was like, dude, just come film tournaments for me. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds like the perfect thing. And I kind of knew that it wasn't going to pay enough probably to sustain a New York City lifestyle. But so I asked him, I asked my girlfriend, Michelle, if it was okay if I just tried this out for a year. So I'm basically just doing this until October. I'll look back and see how did it go? Were we able to make it were we able to survive on me doing disc golf stuff? And if the answer is yes, then I'll keep doing it. And if it's no, then I'll start looking for another job. So we'll see what happens.
Now, I guess my first question, and it's almost a little selfish, are you exclusively working with Central Coast? If you're not busy with them for a weekend, can SmashBoxx or the Disc Golf Guy or Jomez reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, Ian's my guy, and okay. Whenever if Central Coast is at an event and Ian wants me to film for Central Coast at that event, I will film for Ian. I don't care what anyone else wants me to do. I'm a loyal guy, and yeah, Ian's one of my close friends. So. But for example, for GBO, Jomez is going to be there and SmashBoxx is not. And I was talking to Jonathan. I was actually interviewing him for the podcast that I'm doing. And Jonathan was like, hey, are you doing anything for GBO? Can I get you out here and film for us? And I was already kind of looking for a way to get to GBO. So when he asked me that, I was so stoked. I tried not to sound like I was super stoked, but I was really excited. And yeah, so I'll be filming for Jomez out at GBO, which I'm so stoked. I've never been there, and I've just heard it's such a cool party. So
It is. We'll make sure to show you around
people,
at night.
Block parties, whatever.
When you're done filming, just ignore the editing part. Come on out with us. We'll show you a good time around Emporia.
That is the cool thing about working with Jomez is he said I just have to do camera work. For Central Coast, we film and then we go back and we edit. And I really like editing, so it's not like a bummer that I have to edit. Like I don't look at it as like extra work, but it is nice that after I'm done filming with Jomez for like the 3 or 4 hours or whatever, I'll get to go interview people, and I'm gonna do a lot of Ulti-World stuff. I think like just interviewing people, writing articles, getting interviews for the podcast. Because like doing the Waco episode that I've just been working on, it was a little bit tougher because I'm calling everyone on the phone, and it's a podcast, so like audio quality like kind of matters, and I can like mess with it and whatever the audio program is for
Audacity or something.
Audition.
Yeah, whatever.
Or Audition.
Yeah, Audition. That's what it is. And I can mess with the audio and make it sound good, even though it's a phone call. But I'd obviously like still prefer to like talk to people in person. Like I talked to you in person, Terry, at Vegas, and I talked to Yuli in person at Vegas. And I wish I had been more forward thinking then and just talked to like everyone while I was in Vegas. But I mean, this is my first like time doing any of this, so I'm kind of learning myself.
Yeah, you wrote a really great article on the Ulti-World website about I assume it's one of your first experiences kind of at the Las Vegas event with editing and filming and jumping in to help out Terry when he needed it, and just the 24 hours almost of just running yourself ragged as a media person.
Yeah, it was my first time going on like a big trip and doing something like that. I had filmed tournaments in the past for Ian. I did not tournaments, just my tournament, the Firefly Hollow Open. I had filmed and put on Central Coast, but I'd never done this like on a big scale like that going to Vegas. So it was really cool. It was like mind blowing to see that, like what a really, really big tournament looks like. I've been to like the MVP Open or Maple Hill Open, Vibram Open, whatever you call it. But like I've seen, like I go to Maple like once a month, and like I just see Mr. Dodge walking around, and I see Mecca walking around the dog, and like Maple Hill just feels like home. So when I see all these pros there, it doesn't feel like as overwhelming. But when I was at Vegas, it's on like this private course that I had never seen before. This beautiful, like, I didn't realize disc golf had this much money. Like, you know, like MVP Open just feels like a party in Steve's backyard. But like the Vegas tournament was like, geez, they can afford to close down this golf course. Like this golf course is so nice. I can't believe they'll let us Frisbee here. It was like my main thought. But
well, when you're making that in of a moolah,
yeah, exactly.
Now, to be fair, I don't think, I mean, Vegas, clearly the national tour event that it is, you know all this, but, you know, the national tour event, definitely a flagship early season event. They really roll out the red carpet, and Jeff Chaqua and that whole crowd, you know, have built into that. It's 20 years old, you know, so for it to be the size that it is, they really wow you. And I'll say it, I wish every weekend were as big as Vegas. And I think you'll see this year, I mean, obviously there are dozens of really big, really great events, but you know, when you're talking that super upper echelon elite level, we still only have a handful. And I think in our lifetime, we're going to see a lot more of them, hopefully.
I sure hope so. Yeah, that'd be cool if like you said, every weekend was like that. I think that's kind of what Steve is going for with the Pro Tour. Like just make all these like 11 tournaments like feel big. So.
Exactly. All right. So the last question we'll ask about your past life before we get a little more into the podcast is, you know, when eventually when myself or others caught an ace or an epic shot, I know I sent you even an eagle throw in by Brian Earhart 5 years ago before anyone knew who he was.
Dude, yeah.
You know, this huge eagle throw in from like 300 feet. It was always, you were kind of our connection at ESPN to maybe try to, you know, squeak into that top 10 or get that ball rolling. So people are asking, you know, how do we continue that? Is that something, and I'll ask you, is that something we should be seeking out, you know, finding those top 10 spots? Is that big of a deal?
Yeah, well, I think, you want the long-winded answer or like the shorter answer?
Sure,
it's Smashbox. You know you want the long-winded one.
We got all night, baby.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, okay, so the long answer is so like the first time it happened, the first time I like thought like, man, this should be on ESPN. Like this is my job to find cool sports content. This is cool sports content. It doesn't matter that it's disc golf. Like it's like was at the 2014 Worlds. when Macbeth was playing Ricky in the playoff, and I was watching it live. I'm pretty sure it was you guys, right? Was that, or was that?
No, that was still Disc Golf Planet.
Yeah,
doing that one live. Yep.
Yeah. I just remember because it was Crazy John Brooks. But yeah. And I remember watching it like at work. I was watching it at ESPN while I was supposed to be doing a highlight for a baseball game. And usually, like, this is just when I was first starting to get into disc golf. So, like, I still wasn't like super into it. I was pretty focused on doing my work most of the time. But then this playoff was going on. I'm just like, oh my God, look at these shots. Look at these guys are doing. This is like so exciting. And it made me realize for the first time that like, this isn't just like disc golf. This is like real. This is really exciting. This is great content no matter who you are, no matter how much you care about like disc golf in particular. If you care about sports in general, you will care about this, like this thing that's happening. So that led me talking to Ian, and I messaged him and I was like, yo, if anything cool happens, just let me know and I'll see what I can do and try and get it onto like top 10. And top 10 is one of the things that at ESPN that like, it doesn't, it's something that's just put together by like, it's put together by one of the highlight production staff. It's not so prestigious. It's not like a huge like 2-minute segment or something. That's why that Macbeth segment was like so cool, because I know how much harder it is to get something like that. Like top 10 is just like 10, 15 seconds, and it's pretty easy to talk to someone and get something that you think is cool on there. So then when Nate Doss's ace happened, and it was like this super cool shot, I was like super geeked, and I was done with my highlight, but I stuck around and was like, let me get all the treatment on this. Let me do every little thing I can so that they have no excuse not to put this on SportsCenter. And then I went to the guy who was cutting top 10 that night. He was one of the APs. And I was like, hey, here's the shot sheet. Here's the highlight. It's got not After Effects, but like whatever, our ESPN After Effects on it. And it looks super clean. Here's everything. You don't need to do anything. And he was like, all right, cool. I'll put it in. And I was like, really? Wait, I didn't think it would be that easy. And then I think I got done with that at like 8 or 9. He was like, yeah, I'll put it in. And I started freaking out. And I just sat there. I sat there 2 hours after work till the 11 p.m. SportsCenter. And then 11:52 is when top 10 is always at 50 on the 52s. So at 11:52, just watching it, number 10, Nate Doss, and I was just like so geeked. I was like, I can't believe it. This is like a cool thing that just happened. And so then after that, it was just kept on waiting for cool shots to happen. And you or Ian or Jomez would message me, and I'd just do the exact same thing where I'd make it hard for them to say no because I'd just done all the work already for them. And I think the real big turning point was Philo's Albatross.
Yeah.
Because Ian sent that to me, and I was like, well, this is clearly incredible. And actually, the guy who was cutting top 10 that night, I actually asked him, like, hey, look at this cool thing. I did everything for you. Here it is. And he was like, actually, I can't put this in. I have 10 really good plays already. And usually that would be like, where I'd be like, all right, cool. You have 10 good plays. I'm out. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
sure. I don't want to bother like more people.
Mm-hmm.
But this was like, no, I don't care. This is like this important. This shot is incredible. I'm going to go bother people. So I went to the morning SportsCenter producers. Like, so they're producing like the 7 a.m. SportsCenter. So they're in at like 11 p.m. So I'm staying late. So I went to the 7 a.m. producers, and I'm like, put this in your morning SportsCenter. It will go viral. It will be really good for you if you put this in your SportsCenter. And the 7 a.m. producer was like, sure. So then the 7 a.m. producer, the 8 a.m. producer, the 9 a.m. producer, they all put it in. And like I said, and then it went viral. Like Bleacher Report picked it up. All these different sites were like putting it on their websites. And after that, the producers, the main top 10 producer, his name is Tom Rochi. And he said, next time you see anything like this, just let us know, because we were the first ones on this, and that's really cool for us. Like, if Bleacher Report is taking our stuff, that's great. Mm-hmm. And I was like, awesome, cool. So then after that, it was really easy, because then anything was tagged SC top 10, they were already looking for it. Disc golf was like, it was like okay to put disc golf on after that. So yeah, the Philo Ace was like a really, really huge deal, and it was like I don't do anything anymore. Like I used to do all this work to try and make it so that they had no reason to say no. And now I'm just like, hey, here's a thing. I sent an email, but that's about it. And at this point, it's it's out of my hand. Like it's just like
Yeah. So don't everybody flood or inbox or start spamming Mo here with everything. But no, I mean obviously the whole disc golf world owes you so much gratitude. What an awesome story to get the background to how so many of those things have happened, and it's one of those moments that. One of the few moments maybe in my disc golf career over 25 years, I think about like, where was I when, disc golf was on SportsCenter? And I remember being at the Memorial. I remember it being that night at Top Golf where everybody was after the fact and it had come on. And so many of those types of situations. When I shot an ace that Paige Pierce that ultimately got on, and then the very second ace ever on SportsCenter was Smashbox and at the GBO with Billy. Yeah. So I mean, it's so monumental for disc golf, and yet so many of these specific instances, everybody has a story attributed to them, including our players, of course. I mean, how many of our disc golfers ever thought like, yeah, sure, I'll ever be on ESPN for throwing disc around, and so much of that is ultimately owed to you. So just thank you so much. Thank you for everything you did.
Well, I don't look at it like that though. I look at it like I was just doing my ESPN's job is like your job is entertainment and sports, right? Like you're just trying to get the good content and give it to people. So I just looked at myself as someone who's getting good content from a spot that no one is really looking and putting it out there. So I honestly a lot of people like after that started happening were like, here, let me give you a disc, let me give you something. And I was just like always like, no, dude, like I don't want any. No, I don't want like frisbees or anything. Like this is just me doing my job. So
But to be fair, it's you doing your job. It's obviously a little bit of the right place, the right time, and I'll say it kind of fits into the story that I keep telling. That I think when we get a Coca-Cola or a Nike or a Harley Davidson or an IBM, when we get one of those companies involved at some point as a major sponsor here in disc golf, I think it's going to be the parent whose kid plays, and then finally the kid's like, but mom, this is really cool. And then next thing you know, the kid's showing it off to some division, or showing it off what it is. And like, it's going to be one of those situations. And I feel like this is just all of the perfect things coming together and yet providing this major breakthrough for our sport. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just awesome, all of it. So thank you so much.
I mean, what's cool is that like even though I'm not at ESPN anymore, there are still like a lot of disc golfers at ESPN. Like we all like see each other. Like we're not like it's not like there were no disc golfers at ESPN before I got there, and it's not like there won't be disc golfers at ESPN for a long time. Mike Berggren is like he's a predator. It's like a producer editor. He's a high up there. My buddy Joe Madursky is he's one of like the coordinators at we have people there who are in like not I don't want to say high places, but they're not at the bottom. So and yeah, there's a lot of people at ESPN who disc golf. We have 2 courses in Bristol, so it makes it pretty easy to pick up.
Awesome. Well, so you've obviously have all this experience with wearing a lot of different hats and doing a lot of different things. Break down what somebody should expect if they went out and subscribed to your podcast tonight, which they'll all do. I mean, 300,000 people watching. So
yeah, exactly.
What should they expect?
So it's a course design podcast is basically what it breaks down as. I'm kind of trying to, Charlie actually came up with this. I'm basically trying to break down the big issues in disc golf through the lens of course design. So like for the first episode, I talked to you, Terry, about like, have we outgrown the Memorial as a sport? And that's like a bigger question about like disc golf as a whole, right? Like that's not just a question about the Memorial in specific. It's a question about like, can we still be playing on courses that look like this as a sport? And even though it's framed as the Memorial, that kind of question can extend to a bunch of different courses. So I'm trying to do the same thing on all these, where I'm not trying to like answer questions really. I don't want to give the answer to the question. I am trying to answer the questions, but I don't want to give the answer. Because there are no answers to a lot of these questions. Like there's no answer to should we like not play the Memorial anymore. It's kind of more of how you view it. And I'm a sucker for cliffhangers. Like I'm a sucker for ending this podcast like way ahead of time and having the listener kind of form their own opinion, which is why I try and keep them really short. They're like only 20 minutes is my goal usually. I mean, it might get a little long as I get more long-winded, but my goal is like 20, 25 minutes, and you can just listen to it really quick, get all the like, primary sources, all the background, get all the interviews and opinions, and hopefully you can form your own opinion and talk about it with your friends at the course. So,
You would have to assume there's going to be some pretty serious debates that then either go to social media or, like you said, to your friends on the course. There should be some probably pretty healthy debates after these.
Yeah, that's the hope. And I'm going to try to be asking like questions that are, I want to make people uncomfortable. Like I want to ask questions that make people uncomfortable. And I think if, anybody who saw me ask questions at Vegas, I'm not like afraid to ask questions that make people maybe not feel great all the time. But like, I want to ask the questions that make you kind of question your own perception of what you think about disc golf, like what you think the sport should be, what you think the courses should look like, because the courses kind of frame the sport, right? Like that's what makes golf so unique. That's what makes golf different than any other sport, is that our stadium is completely different every single time, and it's part of the game. There's no other sport that's really like that, where the course is like shaping who can win, who's going to play well, what kind of skills you need to have. So, and I think that's one of the most interesting parts about golf. So, yeah.
Do you think that, and this is a little self-serving maybe, but do you feel that with you being video content, journalistic, you having all of those hats and backgrounds, and maybe not being a long-standing disc golfer, you just said it. You're okay with asking uncomfortable questions or maybe being a little bit more direct. I always get accused and challenged, and rightfully I'll own it sometimes, that I don't ask hard enough questions, or that I, maybe I seem a little too friendly with whether it's our guest or any of our players out there on the course even. Do you feel that maybe you have I don't want to say an advantage, but is it a little easier for you because you're acting a little bit more journalistic than I've ever claimed to really be? For instance?
I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, you've been in it for so long. You're like friends with everyone. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like you know everyone really closely. I wouldn't claim to like know any disc golfers super closely. Also just coming from ESPN, like I'm used to people like getting just shellacked in press conferences. Like I'm used to cutting up like tough answers and stuff. I remember, I'll never forget this when, so the Maverick, I don't know how many people on your podcast follow the NBA, but when the Mavericks had like a sexual abuse scandal that was like really serious, and we had Mark Cuban come on the show that I worked on, and Rachel Nichols just like annihilated him for like an hour straight, and just like nearly made him cry on TV. And those are like, I just like learned a lot from that. Like, because Rachel, I think she was one of the best people ever to learn from, because she's so good at being friendly with people, but still being able to ask really difficult questions. She balances that amazingly. And I learned from her for the past 2 years, basically how to do that, where she can say really good things about Luka Doncic on the Mavericks, and then have the owner of the Mavericks on the next day and hammer him on the sexual abuse scandal. So that's something that I'm going to try and do as best I can, and try and utilize all the skills I learned from her. And I learned from Cassidy Hubbard, who I worked with on NBA Tonight, and just learn from all the like really talented reporters I worked with at ESPN. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I will probably re-ask you later offline for some of those names, and I'll have to go do some research, because I will admit those are definitely situations where my history and my familiarity with a lot of these players can be really advantageous, but it also, I've always said it's kind of that awkward stage where if I go too hard hitting, we're a really small community, and we only have so many superstars, and they don't have to talk to us. So when if you piss off, our 5 to 10 top players, for instance, or any of them, the pool is so much smaller to draw from, and they're not contractually obligated. And so it's not just that I want to be friendly with everyone, but it is an interesting dynamic that we have to kind of work through. And I see some other people asking, I'll say, tougher, harder questions, and I applaud them for that. And there's something for me to learn there for sure.
But that doesn't have to be like your role, though. Like, we don't all have to be the same media person, right? Like, it's
True.
fine for you to be the guy that like everyone loves, and they're just talking to Terry because it's great to talk to Terry. Like, that's totally fine. Like, it's not. It kind of bothers me when people are like, oh, well, this person doesn't do X. Like, maybe it's not their role to do X. Maybe some people are providing like a different kind of content. Like, the content that Smashbox provides is not necessarily, like, I don't need, like, if I want to get hard hitting content, I can go to certain places for it. Like, I can go to The Upshot. I think The Upshot does such a good job, Charlie and Jamie.
Is that another podcast or?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the All Two Worlds
cute.
like weekly like review podcast. What's that?
I was just kidding.
Terry's dicking with you. That's what he's doing.
But I think they're so good at being like critical, and if you want to listen to like really like thoughtful, insightful commentary, like they're very good at like saying their opinions and not being afraid of like of the repercussions of that. And I think as the players have to be ready for this kind of, like, if you're going to succeed, you're going to be asked questions, and if you mess up, you have to be held accountable for that. Like, it's not. You have sponsors, you have fans, like those people deserve to know, like, why did you play poorly? Like, I'll give an example. At Las Vegas, after Paige's like pretty tough start, I think we would all agree she had a pretty tough first 2 rounds. I asked her, like, why did you struggle? That's just a totally normal question. Why did you struggle? And she was like, oh, well, I wasn't prepared. And she said, like, well, I didn't realize it was going to be this hard at the beginning of the season, something like that extent. And I kind of came back with, like, you're not a rookie. This is not your first time out here. Like, how did you not know to be prepared? And, like, I felt bad about that question immediately after I asked it, because I'm such a huge fan of Paige's, and I really don't ever that was the first time I felt like kind of awkward making someone feel uncomfortable, because I could tell she like wasn't super stoked that I had just asked her that question.
Yo, dude, you want to take this to the course? Because I'll still whoop you, even when I'm not prepared.
Would. She totally
I
would.
know.
But yeah, it was one of those situations where, like, that was where I wish I had, like, someone in my ear, like, just telling me what to say. Because I'm new at this, too. Like, I've never been the person asking questions. I mean, I'm a journalist at heart. Like, that's what I did all through college. That's what I worked. Like, that's where I feel like I want to be eventually. But it's still, like, Vegas was, like you guys said earlier, it was still my first time out there. So, but then I talked to Raph about it after. I was like, hey, if I was too harsh back there, I apologize. And we smoothed things over. So, but Paige is still one of my, like, favorite disc golfers ever to watch. And she's going to be killing it later this year. So, yeah. Well,
and that's a great case in point, though, is everyone is asking different questions, trying to fill different roles. As I think even Paige said on our podcast once, she's just like, yeah, with you guys, it's just kind of like a conversation that we're having, as we're having a nightly talk. Whereas some of the other podcasts, and I've always said this, I look at the stark contrast between Dixon and I, and how much he cares about numbers. And there's obviously tons of people that want to break down everything in disc golf by the numbers, and numbers for the most part, like, I don't look at them. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't. And I love that he fills that role. And to overhear a Dixon and a Steve Dodge over the last year or two, having conversations about numbers and, on all sorts of topics revolving around numbers, you said it perfectly. Everyone kind of fills a different role or has their niche or different maybe subject or content that they want to cover. So maybe that's just the way to look to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the podcast game for you would you say that's new or different in terms of you producing that content? How does that fit into like a routine for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done like different bits and pieces of it before. Like, I've done feature production. I've written, like, it's basically like writing. It's like writing an essay, I feel like, and I just kind of like speak it out into the mic. But I've never actually done a podcast before, so now, yeah, it's definitely new for me. It's going to be like a learning experience. I don't expect these first season. I don't expect this whole first year is going to be me learning the whole way, and I just hope everyone enjoys it, even as I'm kind of getting better as the year goes on. But I've done editing before. I feel really comfortable editing. It's what I did a lot of at ESPN. I worked for PBS for a year, so I have experience working on those kind of featurettes, little short features, and that's kind of what all these are. They're basically just short features where I'm just trying to answer one question. So yeah, I kind of obliquely have experience kind of tangentially related to podcasting, but I've never actually created a podcast before.
Well, you're light years ahead of where me and Johnny ever were, and we don't claim to have it down. So you're
I have
way
so much
ahead.
respect for you guys, by the way. Just being we're disc golfers and we're gonna go learn how to do this thing, right? You weren't we're media people, we're gonna do this thing about disc golf. It was we are disc golfers and we're gonna learn how. That's just so cool to me that you guys were able to do that. So mad respect.
Well, thank you, buddy.
So the podcast, The Inside Line, the first episode obviously was about a course. Are they all going to be course related? That was kind of the hint that we got from your interview on the Upshot, or like you said, or are you going to delve into other questions, so to speak, or are you going to kind of try to stick maybe with a theme?
Yeah, I'm going to try and they're all going to be focused on courses. So they're all going to be answering questions that are related to courses. So maybe that question is not necessarily going to end up being about courses, but it's going to start from a place of being, this is about a course. For example, the Waco episode, I think, is actually a pretty good example, the one I'm kind of working on right now. It's going to start out with, should 18 under be possible on a championship level course? So that's the question, right? But then it's kind of being evolving as I'm writing it into a discussion about par and what par means. So par is not related to any specific course, but we're starting off with this specific question about this specific course.
All right. Well, and what is the schedule that you're give us the schedule that you know you're going to hit, and then if you have more, well, then that becomes bonus or extra material. But what's your planned or projected schedule?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have it out every other week is kind of my goal. These take a long time to produce because even though it's 20 minutes, which is pretty short, every minute is curated, right? I have to cut down these interviews and figure out exactly the sound. Imagine writing a 10-page paper, basically. Yeah, that's basically what it is. When I wrote the Memorial episode, I wrote the whole thing. I write it like a paper with the quotes that I have from different people, and it ended up being 10 pages. And that's the same thing is going to happen with this Waco one. It's going to be even longer. So I'm guessing every other week. And what I want to eventually start doing is having interviews with course designers in the meantime. So it'll be episode based around a question about a course, episode based around a question on a course, and then just a 15-minute interview with a course designer. So every third week or something will be an interview with a course designer. So this weekend I'm going to Fools Fest up in New York, and I'm filming it for Central Coast, and I'm hoping to sit down with Steve Brinster and talk to him for 20 minutes. Steve Brinster, by the way, is the best course designer in the world right now that no one knows about. I don't know if no one knows about him, but I think he's the best course designer in the world. And I think most people, when you hear Steve Brinster, you think player first. You think 2013 United States champion. You don't think course designer. But you look at his credits, and he has Fox Run, which is one of the best courses ever, and he has Warwick Disc Golf, Breakwell Steel, out in Warwick, New York, which in my opinion is the best course ever made. And yeah, I think Steve Brinster is a wildly underrated course designer. So I'm hoping to talk to him for 15, 20 minutes this weekend, and release it as a podcast by itself.
Yeah, well, he's clearly a talented individual. And he's contributed, like you said, in so many ways, and it's been cool watching him do exactly that as he's progressed throughout his career. Him and I are just about 100 digits off in our PDGA, and 360 some days off in our birthdays. We're both in early August, and watching him wear those various hats, and he's so passionate about that course design. Obviously, he's a passionate and a skilled player, but to see him take on other roles, I think you're going to see him continue to do that more as his, career progresses
definitely.
forward as well. So that's
Wake up.
awesome. Very cool.
Terry, wake up your camera again.
Oh, did my camera go out again? I don't know.
Terry, I'm going to need to talk to you too when we're at one of these tournaments together, because you've designed like 1 million courses in the Milwaukee area, right?
Not 1 million, but I've had my hands in I don't know, 25 or 30-ish different courses. Most of them, being from schools where I get a lot of leads and conversations. So there's a lot of beginner stuff, but I've also designed a couple other ones, and usually I have help from a local mentor when I'm doing it. But yeah, I'm somewhere in the 25 to 30 course range as well.
It's awesome. Yeah, Brian Earhart was telling me that one of his favorite courses in the world is like Silver something.
Silver Fox, yep.
Yeah, Silver Fox up in
Kenosha.
that area.
Yeah, Kenosha County, where I'm hosting an event in just a couple of weeks. So that's a great unintentional plug.
I was in town for Thanksgiving, and I was like, hey, I got Saturday. Where should I go? Because I actually didn't start playing disc golf until I moved to Connecticut. So like, I don't actually know all the courses in the area. And I was in town for Thanksgiving, and I was like, hey, what course should I play? And he was like, you should drive up and play like this tournament that's going on at Silver, whatever. And I wanted to, but ended up not doing it. But yeah, he was raving about it. So I really want to try that one out.
Well, good. That's like I said, that's going to be happening in just a couple of weeks. We've got Gray Fox and Silver Fox. As I try and get my camera, reset. Yeah. So those are a couple of really good courses that I'm, as you know, and we'll get on that another day. But yeah, I had great property to work with, so very cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a big part of the battle, is having like a good place to build the course in the first place.
Yeah, and there's so many topics as you continue to move forward with your podcast that I'm interested in you touching on from a designer perspective, and then also challenging the status quo or challenging what we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to hear more about those as well. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do, is like really get people thinking about questions that they kind of had assumed were like things that are that's just the way it is. I want to kind of challenge those preconceptions, hopefully. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like definitely give it a listen. It actually just dropped today on Apple Podcast. It should be out. Like it was out on Stitcher, but it wasn't out on everything else. So now you should be able to find it on Apple Podcasts. You should be able to find it on iTunes, that kind of stuff.
And that was going to be my next question: is where can they find it? So yes, it should be out everywhere. If Stitcher has had it for a while, I don't know why Stitcher just has like lower standards than everyone else, but Spotify and all the rest should have it pretty soon, here in a minute. So awesome. All right, Mo. Well, we appreciate it. Clearly long overdue in having you. So we're glad to do so. And looking forward to watching the updates and also seeing all that extra content as you work with CCDG. And, I know you and I had a great conversation in Vegas, and you've been a real big advocate for women's disc golf. So, of course, another shout out, and I appreciate your help there as we were capturing the women's FPO action. And looking forward to seeing you, more and more weekends throughout the year. Yeah,
I'm super excited. And I just want to thank you guys so much. I know this is like a really small thing, but I had to drive from Connecticut to New York a bunch when I was moving from Connecticut to New York. So I had to make that 2-hour drive pretty much every weekend. And just having a 4-hour podcast, I can't tell you how valuable that was.
You and truck drivers, they love us.
And also just hearing that I'm from Chicago, and just hearing that Midwestern accent, just it makes me homesick. It just makes me feel good. So I really appreciate you guys having that podcast out, and I'm exactly the target audience. So thank you guys for producing it.
Well, we appreciate all the kind words, and we're glad that we can provide any kind of entertainment or insight, whatever it is that you're getting out of us. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing more from yours, and we'll cross promote as much as we can, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks. All right. Have a good night. Take care, Mo.
Keep that phone line open. We're going to be calling you for camera work. I guarantee it.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Awesome. No,
we need you.
That sounds awesome.
All right.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Later.
All right. As we said, probably a little bit overdue in talking to him, as he's been so crucial. It sounds like he definitely wants to downplay his role, but I know anytime after the first time I talked to him, anytime after that, when I did get a great shot, I always thought, all right, I got to immediately message him. Maybe he knows. And to put it out there, he said he would do what he could, of course, but he also then followed it up always with get it on social media and do the hashtag SC Top 10. And because, as he said, there's people that are looking for that, people that are searching for those. So when that happens, that's an easy way for the ESPN people to find it themselves. The question I didn't ask him, Johnny, and I know you and I maybe touched on this, maybe it was even years ago. Is there a point where we possibly either bog it down or oversaturate, or maybe even, some less than amazing shots are trying to gain traction and they really aren't SC Top 10 worthy? Do we care about that? Somebody, I don't know, canning a long putt or whatever, but it gets a little traction and it really wasn't that big of a deal. Should we care?
I don't think we should really care. I think that it's funny because Chris Cobb reached out to me and had said that, Paul Macbeth's second perfect round, so to speak, made it on ESPN, and they showed the final slow-mo putt of him tapping in from a few feet, and it brought me back to the discussion, as he was trying to do, of when we're going to see a top 10 putt, like a huge putt that specifically makes the top 10, and I don't think that we're going to end up bogging it down with things like big putts. And so far we've been, I think, relatively picky as the clips that we've chosen to push as a community. There's one or two, I think, that in general you get a little questionable about. You're like, well, that's a 175-foot ace. Is it really worth, just a little bit that way? But for the most part, I think we've been pretty good, and I'm not too concerned about it.
Well, and I'll put this out there from a few years ago. I was filming in North Carolina. I got an ace. It was a blind shot that skipped. I'm sorry, it was kind of I don't know if blind's the right word. It was a dogleg shot that skipped and went in. Barry Schultz hit the ace, and I've got it out there on my YouTube channel somewhere. And it plays along the side of the road. My camera work I was kind of at the swing and trying to get the whole shot. And I'm glad I was at least where I was, because if I was on the tee, we wouldn't have seen it go in at all. And I remember, I think it was John Baldwin, a world champion, reached out, and he very, very diplomatically asked me and said, "Is that really what we want to put on SportsCenter? Like, if it makes it, the shot was kind of along the side of a road, and it was only 175 or 200 feet or whatever it was, 250 feet. It was really short." And that really got me thinking, and I very much appreciated his feedback. And I kind of thought the same, like after I really reflected and thought, as a producer, a content producer, I'd love to see this on SportsCenter. It's cool for Barry and it's cool for the tournament. It's cool for me and my channel. But is it the best foot forward for disc golf? And I don't know. That's what made me think of that question. So maybe that's one we could ask Mo. Excuse me, next time. All right. So
we have. We have another guest tonight, Paul Ulibarri. He'll be joining us pretty soon. He just asked me how long we talking, and I told him about 10 minutes ago. I told him 20 minutes. So he should be joining us shortly. We can catch up with Paul regarding his travels and what he's now doing with Discraft. All that fun, good stuff.
Good. Well, as some of you know, then my 3-week swing it's kind of altered and shifted a little bit. Like I said, the first weekend throwdown was amazing, a great time. Obviously, some solid golf. I hope everyone enjoyed the coverage. Last weekend, it worked out that I actually went up to the IDGC, got some of the Collegiates action, which is all releasing or will be out. I also have, I think, a final round of the FPO Jacksonville footage, FPO final round of throwdown. I want to get both of those out as soon as I can. And then leading into this weekend, Tallahassee, and I've been working with the TD Dave, and I don't know if he's officially assembled a feature card or not, but I'm going to assume the likes of Paul Macbeth will find himself on it. And so I'll be out there capturing. I'm excited to see the course. It's a 22-hole layout. I was told by multiple people that this has the most topography and elevation and changes that we see anywhere for a permanent course in Florida. And so I'm kind of excited to see what they have to offer. And looks like it's going to be a pretty solid A tier this weekend in Tallahassee. So super pumped to check things out this weekend.
Paul's going to be dialing in here very, very shortly. But why don't you quickly go ahead and tell us about your experience at the Collegiates shortly?
Yeah, and I would invite you to go out and read actually some of the articles as well. I know Steve Hill was writing some articles and other people were. Josh Black was out there doing some amazing photography. The long and short of it, though, the best way I can sum it up, because I didn't get to consume all of it, there's individual play and there's team play. And there's then various flights. So like the best of the best, from what I gathered, were in the championship flight. And that's where you have your best players from the school. And then I think on the men's side, there was an A flight and a B flight, something along those lines. I think that's what it was called. And then then there's just the women's flight for everybody. And so I saw some doubles on Friday afternoon, NC State against they were on the lead card along with, and they had a small lead at the time, NC State and Ferris State. And as someone pointed out, there's not even a Ferris State. So I don't know how that was named either, but Ferris State University is out of Michigan. And so I got to see them play their round at the Steady Ed course, which was a lot of fun. And I'll try and quickly break down the format for doubles. It was, imagine you had 4 players from NC State, 4 players from Ferris State. 2 of them would always tee off on the even holes, and the other 2 from your same team would tee off on the odd holes. So at that point, those people tee, and then the other 2 people on your team would play from the best shot. And you would alternate back and forth playing best shot with the other pair from your team till you complete the hole. But then it always resets on the next hole, like I said, because you always had 2 guys playing the odds or teeing on the odds and 2 guys teeing on the evens. And if it's as confusing as it sounds, yeah, just go watch the video and that might help. But it took me a little while to get used to it. And so they played the Steady Ed course on Friday afternoon. I got all of that round. And then there was a final 9 on the women's side on Saturday morning for individual play. And spoiler alert, Maddie Chitwood from Southern Arkansas ultimately came out on top. It was great watching her and the other 3 women play. It was pretty close, but Maddie, I think we might see more of Maddie. She, just her cool, calm demeanor. She was very steady throughout the round. We got to see action on Jim Warner course. Johnny, I don't think you've probably ever seen a video of footage on Jim Warner course at the IDGC, because there might only be 1 video or 2 out there of all time. So we got to see 9 holes from that, and then we got to see the doubles match again wrap up on the Jackson course, and it was great to see, and just the camaraderie, the people, the amount of people, the team unity, the sponsors. Being at the IDGC, that was what I kept, knowing that I've seen that place all the way since its opening. Like, there's just it's such a great place for it. You have 3 great courses. You have the PDGA staff there that are running around busting their tails, and then you have all of the collegiate disc golf staff, and then Innovo is there as a primary sponsor. It's such an awesome setting, and of course, if anyone is eligible to play in college disc golf, I highly recommend you look into it for your school and for your team, or assemble a team or get on a team, because it was really cool to see. So that's kind of my spiel on that. It was awesome. And I don't know if boast is quite the way. I'm super proud that I think this might be the first full post-production footage from the Collegiate Nationals. So I got to thank the PDGA, Steve Hill, who I reached out to, and of course College Disc Golf and John Baker and Innova and everyone. I got to thank all of them for helping get me there so we could make it happen. So.
Yeah, I think we saw some
Pretty
live
cool.
coverage come from that many years ago from Disc Golf Planet, but I don't know if we've ever seen any post-production stuff.
Yeah, and I said it there. Like, this has been going on for over a decade, and I'm almost a little embarrassed. It's not fit into the schedule just right, or there's been a conflict or whatever. And so to finally be able to get there and experience it and have it be at some place I'm familiar with, the IDGC, it was really cool. And you could get someone like a Hannah Macbeth, who I know is on the board, who could talk for hours and hours about it because it's such a cool experience. And I saw our friends from Foundation Disc Golf out there as well. So it was who we had on the show just a couple weeks ago. So it was really cool to see. And with that, Johnny, if you've got Uli coming or in the green room, I'm good with cutting it out myself. I've got more editing I'm going to do. I want to get 1 or 2 more collegiate disc golf videos put out.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, the men's individual round on the men's side. I filmed the women's, and then I ran over and caught the final hole or two of the men's side, and that was pretty dramatic actually and exciting. So I got that kind of as some bonus footage. And I think I got some other stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to keep hammering away on the content. And thank you to my Patreon subscribers of the Disc Golf Guy as well as Smashbox. You saw a couple extra videos. I think I'm on a streak right now of more videos than I've ever put out before. And honestly, I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. So more live and more post-production, and we just keep on rolling.
Excited.
Pretty crazy. So to clarify, I know there's a couple other people that continued to ask that maybe got in a little bit late. Jonesboro, I'm not going to physically be present at Jonesboro. I just wanted to recap that quickly. Johnny and Gary will be working on that. Do we know, with the commentators, is that Nate and Val? Are they locked in, or is there a change there? Do we know? Or okay.
I mean, I know Nate and Val are committed to the tour. I don't know if they're committed to every single event.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
I feel like that was discussed, and I may just not recall off the top of my head. But Jonesboro, next Pro Tour stop, Johnny V will be at the controls. Yeah, it should be very exciting. What color sheets are they doing? I don't think they have sheets. I'm not going to lie. Here in my accommodations tonight, I thought it might be kind of funny, but maybe not, to have a sheet of my own as we announce that we're coming back. But my better judgment, kicked in, believe it or not. Instead, I just have this very modern hotel room that I'm in that probably echoes, but it's quite modern.
It sounds pretty good.
Okay. All right. Yes. So as Chris is saying, definitely more live, and we've got some other exciting things in the works. We've got some big announcements coming up as well. Some other exciting things from the live side and from post-production side that are going to continue to roll out this year. So we are far from done on that side. Collegiate disc golfers, should I work on some Smashbox sheet designs, Johnny V?
It wouldn't be. I'm sure you can order custom sheets with specific. Oh yeah,
I mean, look at what Tina does with whale sacks. I mean, she's got custom. I mean, you can get Eric Oakley's face on a whale sack, so I think you can order custom anything you need.
I could order some Eric Oakley sheets.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be creepy.
I mean, they'd match my pillowcase, so I don't think they would be creepy.
It's a throw pillow, though. It's not like a...
Oh, there you go. Throw pillow. I see what you did there. All right. Jeff Spring, Mike Nickel is asking if Jeff Spring will likely be involved in some commentary. I don't know exactly. Again, some of those details are still to be worked out, but the long and short of it is that you're going to see the back-end work taking place by Johnny V. We're going to see the cameramen that we've seen in the past, but I think they're going to continue to ease into their position and then probably have a little bit more input, whether it's from Johnny or someone like myself who is going to be on the ground more often. I think we're going to be able to assist in more ways than just one when we do come in. I feel like we have our roles and we have our specific tasks. I have a feeling there may bleed into other roles and tasks, to kind of have that all hands on deck mentality. We want to right the ship as quickly and as efficiently and as best as we can.
Yeah,
So
I'm calling Paul right now. I'm going to join him to this call, so hopefully we can make this happen. Paul might be on the call right now as we speak. I think we're just maybe waiting for there. Oh, look at that. Hold on.
look at that little video. I don't know if that's just the bad lighting I have or if that's a mustache that he's got. Okay, I'm.
So at least you know it's the right guy.
That's true.
Oh.
All right, Yuli. Well, I'm going to say hello and goodbye. I'm going to let you guys get at this. I've got some editing to do and continue my crazy travels here. So hello, good night, Yuli. We'll see you probably in the next couple of weeks somewhere, buddy.
Yeah, I actually just saw on Facebook that you guys are going to be at Jonesboro.
Half of us, yes. Smashbox is going to be the backbone to the live and rejoining with the Pro Tour media, and hopefully there's going to be a big cohesive push forward all in the right direction, and we're super excited. Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, we're excited for it. All right, Terry, you can drop off this call. We don't need you.
All right, good night, Johnny.
Get
you
out
got
of here.
this.
Get out of
Supposedly.
Get out of
Bye.
here. Oh, Paul, you've been busy lately. I see your name popping up all over everywhere. You're doing post-production stuff. You're doing clinics. You're winning events a couple weeks ago, and you're playing very well. Give us a little breakdown on what's going on. All right. Why don't could you do me a favor? Can you turn your phone to the side? I don't know if you can or not. There we go. Now I can do this. Cool. All right, much better. Yeah. So now that looks much better. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So tell us about touring now, because you've got yourself a new touring partner. You've got Brian Earhart, and how is that going along for you?
It's good. Obviously, it took some time for us to kind of get in the groove and learn our niches and our do's and don'ts, on the road. And we have the RV, obviously, and so that's taken a little time to get used to. I'm usually used to kind of touring by myself / just in a car. So this is the first time I've done like the RV life and things like that. So, I mean, me and Brian are doing great. We're getting along well, which is, the first and foremost thing that you want to look for in a touring partner. And yeah, I mean, everything so far this year has been going very smooth for our tour, and definitely in a positive direction. So that's good.
Yeah, see, as someone else brings up, you're also doing, this is the night of us promoting other people's podcasts. Apparently, you've got a new podcast that you are participating and helping run, the Buzz, which is...
Yeah, the Buzz.
How have you found that to be? Is that any different than any of the other media you're doing?
Yeah, no, it is for sure. I mean, to come up with different topics that are kind of outside the norm is, really what that podcast is about. Just to kind of go into more of the mental side of disc golf and things that have happened or happening, and why people do what they do, and the things that we've seen, and so definitely different than other podcasts that I've done for sure.
Is that available out on, I'm honestly, I should probably know this, but is that available out on most podcast apps, or is that still strictly a YouTube thing?
Nope, that's available pretty much anywhere you want to get it.
Perfect. Good. So I know there's a couple people that were asking that question on the board. Where do you see the Buzz going for you? Is it something to help your game, or is it more for you to more so just kind of have a general discussion about what you're feeling on the course?
So it's not necessarily about me really at all. I mean, I think it's more of bringing up kind of, I personally, and I know Brian has kind of the same view for it. We want it to be more of, I don't want to say like an edgy podcast, but we kind of want to go down those different avenues of discussions that are kind of almost taboo in a way that people are scared to talk about. You know, like for instance, if you want to catch up on our last one, it was about being clutch and what is clutch in sports in general. How do you become? Is there a way to get around, you know, the nerves, different things like that? So, I mean, definitely a different avenue for sure than what the norm is. You know, like, oh, let's talk about the same tournaments over and over again and what you're doing and what these people are doing and you know, ratings or different things like that. Like we're trying to go a little bit around the corner with those kind of topics and stuff.
It's really interesting seeing a lot of the pros right now kind of step into different roles. We're seeing, especially now with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you guys are, you know, you're a regular commentator with maybe a rotating cast. We've got Sarah Holcomb doing the same thing. Nate Sexton always talked about having a really nice flow, being able to do the podcasts. He wakes up nice and early, he's able to get out, kind of review some of the footage, do commentating, and then get into a routine. Has it been consistent for you like that, or are you still working out timing?
The word consistent in the Pro Tour right now is pretty funny. So
valid point.
So not to throw them under the bus too much, but consistent definitely isn't the word when it comes down to that. But it's something that's very important to me. The Pro Tour is very important to me. To have those tournaments, to have that coverage for disc golf in general is important to me. And I told this to somebody else who asked me a similar question. Like, I would rather do the commentating for the Pro Tour than somebody else, and not necessarily because I love doing it. It's just that I take pride in it, you know, and I want to get better. And I look at the comments and I really critique my own commentating, and I really want to get better each time that I do it. And I'm not so sure that with other people who do commentating, that's something that they think about. I know that Nate is and Jeremy is, you know, and those are they've become very successful in that. And I've learned a lot from just those things with the innovation that Jomez has done and different things like that. Like, I take it very seriously. So as far as like getting in a routine, no, but I am in a pretty good routine as far as doing it. Like it definitely doesn't like mess with my schedule. It's something that I enjoy.
Is this something, I mean, it has to have crossed your mind at one point. We've seen with, you know, the Big Sexy duo, their popularity skyrocket partially due to some of the commentating. Is that something you're kind of hoping, assuming that you continue with it and you enjoy it and you do a great job, is that something you hope to push with your own brand, so to speak?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that definitely comes to mind when I think about it, but that's just the perk of doing a really good job as well. And right now with the coverage, like we've seen a big boost in the last, you know, even in the last year, we've seen a big boost in disc golf in general. And it's because of that. It's because of the coverage that Jomez is putting out, and the Pro Tour and SmashBoxx and all these companies, you know, really pushing out coverage and information for the public to kind of take in. And with that, of course, there's going to be somebody who's going to, you know, benefit from it, obviously. And if you put yourself in position correctly, that's definitely an option for sure. But I don't think that's like the driving force and why I like to do it.
Mm-hmm. What partners have you had so far in the commentating? I know you've done it with Brian for sure. Who else?
I've teamed up with Nate Perkins. I've teamed up with Jerm a few times. I've teamed up with Bradley Williams, and I think that's it.
Has there been someone you've gelled with better? I know you travel with Brian, but you're great friends with Germ for a long time, and you've probably known Bradley for quite a few years.
No, I think it's been great. I think they've all done. I think that as far as commentating goes, and like the pairs that I've been paired up with, I think it's all gone really well. And obviously, over time, the more somebody's going to do it, the better you're going to get. So me and Germ, we flow pretty well together, but we've done it more times than I have with other people. But I mean, Brian's a natural. This last week, Texas State's, I think we got as many or more compliments than I've ever gotten in the comment section doing it with Brian, and that's the first time he's ever done it. Like when people think about commentary and they say, "Oh, I want to hear this person on the mic," or "I want to hear this person." It's a tough thing because I really believe there are certain people for it and there's certain people that aren't for it. And Brian showed a real knack for it, and Nate Perkins as well. I really enjoy working with Nate. He's really smooth on the mic, and we gelled very well together for the Memorial coverage. So,
and that's funny because I don't know Nate really that well, but he always seems like a very reserved and quiet person from the times I've seen him. So to me, he wouldn't feel like a natural on the mic. But I obviously haven't listened to the post production stuff for the Memorial, so it's good to hear that he has that knack. And maybe it's just the few times I've run into him that he's been that way, but ultimately he's always come across as just a fantastic person, and he seems pretty knowledgeable and well spoken. So
very well spoken, yeah, and very educated. He's really good with his words and things like that, and those are different things you look for in a good commentator, really.
So let's move a little bit over to what you're probably a little even better known for is your playing. You've had a pretty good couple weeks. You won the event. What's it called? Was it called
the Open at Belton?
The Open at Belton. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go through that a little bit with us. Tell us. I don't know if I've ever seen the course, to be honest. It's not one that's really filmed that often.
No, it was a new course that it was a new design for sure. In Temple, well, it's in Belton, but it's really close to Temple, which is the bigger city. It's about an hour and a half. What would it be, south of Waco? And so it was pretty close. Yeah, your typical Texas tourney course, kind of longer holes, some OB, some. It's funny. I was talking to Nate Perkins about it right before I went there, and I was actually supposed to go to California for a trip and do St. Patty's and Daniel Bow. But we had some RV issues, so we had to stay, and then I had to cancel one of my demo days that I was running out there. And so we stayed in, obviously in Texas. And so I asked Nate what the course was going to be like because it was, and he's like, "Oh, it's a new course, but it's a typical Neil Damber design. You're going to have like a bunch of wide open course, and he's going to find a way to put like some really tight woodsy holes with these tight little lines somehow on the course." And I like kind of laughed, and then I got to the course, and it was that exact thing. And it's a good course for sure. It's a fun tournament course. It was very difficult, but yeah, it ended up being a good week.
Yeah, and then this past weekend you were over at Texas State. I saw some of the post-production stuff for that because I wanted to check out the course because it's a course I personally haven't seen before. I know it's been filmed a few times, I believe, but you took 6th out there, shooting 12 under par for total for the 10-20, 10-35, and 10-11. So just a hair under probably where you wanted to be as far as ratings-wise compared to what you have. So what was the struggle out there?
Honestly, I'd played the course the year before, but they made some changes. And after I won Belton, I wanted to go home and kind of relax for a few days. And I flew home to see my family, my girlfriend. And so I actually played the course blind. I flew in Thursday night and then played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I played it kind of blind. It was really more of a, I think, putting issue. And then the final round, it got really cold. and that was kind of an issue. So I just wasn't on,
Sure.
It was like a week off, and I wasn't focused on disc golf and things, which I really needed. And then it was I don't want to say it was a filler week, because it's a tournament and I take it serious as any other tournament. I just didn't get the practice that I probably would normally get on, which I was actually kind of, for how bad I played, I was happy with my placing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable where there are events that you can focus more energy on than others, and especially coming off of an off week. You may try your best on the course, but the prep time isn't necessarily there.
Sure, and then I was doing the commentary for Jomez, and so that was I was thinking about not even going, and because they were gonna let me do the commentary, I made sure to make it happen. So commentating is becoming very important. If you get the opportunity to do it, I try to make time and make it a priority.
Is that a paid gig, doing commentary, or are you starting? We've seen a couple other pro players start up Patreons and things like that. Is that another avenue you're going to think about?
No, Jomez hooks me up in the ways that they hook me up, but
perfect.
As far as the pro tour goes, there's a link after each one of my videos that I do. Or is it a video? No, that's not even a real thing anymore. What do you call it?
I guess it is a video. It's just, yeah.
After each segment. Sure.
Yeah.
There's a link with the link goes straight to my signature disc, and then people can support me that way. So.
Good segue. Let's talk about your signature disc, guys. I've been seeing it out on Facebook that you've got yourself with a nice little Uli stamp. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, took a while for us to design the disc, but we finally came out with the Raptor is what it is, and it's now I believe it's full production, so you can get first run Raptors, Z Raptors, and it's basically overstable fairway driver, 9-speed, so a little bit slower and very consistent. And they came out with a plastic for my commentating, for that special link for the Memorial, and then those all sold out. And then they're going to come out with another run for Jonesboro.
What kind of plastic is that?
The first one that they did is going to be my actual signature series plastic, which is ESP swirl plastic, which is really cool. I mean, those are probably the ones that you've been seeing posted.
Yeah, everybody loves the Discraft swirls. I mean, honestly, I've seen it everywhere that they've just been knocking that out of the park.
Yeah, it's been really good, and I was super surprised that they sold out. They probably sold about 2,000 of those in a week or something.
Wow.
And so they're out right now, but they're making I think a Z run for my next commentary, and that's not even my actual signature series. It'll be out in April, which will be those ESPs, but it'll be a generic tour series for the whole elite team stamp.
How has your bag changed recently? You've the further we get into the season, the probably more seasoned you're getting with the different plastic and the different molds. And now with your own signature series, most of the time the pros will bag at least one of their own, whether, and pick specific spots to throw it. How has your bag developed over the past couple weeks?
So I was lucky enough to where my signature disc was the one that I helped design. So it's exactly what I wanted it to be, so it's a slot that was just put in there, specifically that a disc that I wanted, obviously. And it's my favorite disc in the bag. I throw it constantly. And in Belton, coming down the stretch, I threw probably the winning shot with it that was super important. And, I went straight to that disc, and it ended up winning me the tournament. So obviously the Raptor has become a staple in the bag. I'm still struggling a bit with the mid-range. I haven't found one that I truly like. I've been holding on to the Comet. Mm-hmm. Everybody keeps telling me to try different buzzes, so I've been trying different buzzes, but that hasn't meshed well with my game. And so honestly, luckily being in Texas, you don't need a mid range that much. Like it's
Yeah.
more of like power hyzers and playing in the wind and stuff like that. So my bag's kind of stayed the same since Memorial, or since before that. It's pretty similar. I've just gotten a little bit more used to what I have, and obviously the new Kong has made its way in there as well.
Yeah, that's one of the discs I want to get my hands on. Well, both the Raptor and the Kong I want to get my hands on. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, so I can get throwing them to see how I like them. I've always been a big fan of Discraft plastic and discs. What are you missing in your mid range? What do you feel like you need a disc to do that you don't have?
Honestly, it's a grip issue. Like I threw one mold with the previous company that I was with. I threw one mold the whole time.
Yeah.
And I never switched from that mold. So I think I just, the grip that I had with that particular disc has just been a real tough switch for me.
Okay. Do you grip your mid ranges different? Do you have a power grip for your mid range, or is it more of a fan grip?
I grip it as a power grip.
As a power grip? Okay. Because I know there's just a lot of people, or a lot of, whether pros or AMs, that will switch up their grip depending on the type of disc they throw, whether it's a putter, a mid-range versus a driver. So this.
But yeah, no, I've become super confident in my bag, and obviously that showed after Waco. I played well at Waco, and then it led right into Belton, and so yeah, the bag's definitely coming together a lot faster than I anticipated as well. I mean, I haven't won a tournament with that many really good players in years. Mm-hmm. It's been years. I've won plenty of A tiers, but I think there was something like 25,000 rated players at that tournament. Like there was a lot of competition.
Disc Golf Nerd on the course says that, or on the board says that the Kong is solid. He's got a couple of them he's doing reviews on, so I'm excited to hopefully get a copy of that. Has the reaction the past couple months to Discraft and the new discs and the plastic, has it surprised you at all? Or did you kind of see it coming when you signed on?
I mean, that was part of the plan. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody expected it to blow up as much as it has. I don't think, but I think we all kind of thought it was definitely possible.
Yeah.
And that's why we did it. Like it's fun to see. This famous saying, it's fun to when a plan comes together, but I don't think anybody was ready for as big of a, push that it's made. And it's been really great. It's been really great. I mean, can't say enough about Macbeth's game and how well he's adapted to the disc, just throwing that 18 down at Waco and, really putting his foot down to he's one of the greatest of all time, and to prove that and make the switch and then have the performance that he did, and then follow that up with a great performance right there in Florida, and the rest of the people on the team, we have a really great team right now that is just everywhere. People touring all over the place and just making their splashes, and it felt great for me to get the win that I got. I felt like I was contributing as far as my play went, which is, like I said, I didn't think that would happen for a while. I thought it was going to take me a while to, get to that level, but can't talk enough about the support we even have from Discraft. Like constantly in contact with Mike and Bob,
probably, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just been really good. Like anytime we need anything, they're there to help, and it's a team effort, and you can see it, and it's nice to see it all pay off for everybody.
Yeah, for everybody. I mean, especially Mr. Macbeth. I did have to flat out apologize or say that you were right. Last year when we were talking about Macbeth's perfect round, this is the first one, I had said that I didn't think we were going to see another 18 down for like 5 years. And you had flat out said, you're like, no, these are going to become more common to see these 17 and 18 downs. And I'm like, maybe a couple 17s, but I don't think we're going to see another 18 for years. and then that jerk does it like 6 months later.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna publicly say that you were right. I was wrong, and there's not much. I mean, it's what an amazing feat, and it goes to show what a consistent player he is, and that he's found some fantastic plastic. Honestly, that's he's that putter now that he has, that first run I think it technically is throwing so well for him. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair for everybody
Yeah.
else.
And it's just a tribute to how hard he works. Like the beginning of the year, we all saw him struggle a bit, and that's just the type of person that he is. Even through this struggle, like, he doesn't listen to anybody. He just goes out there and works his little butt off. And I plenty of times I show up to the course and he's already there, played already his second round or whatever, and that's that's what it takes. And it's really excuse me.
It's all right.
It's really cool to see all this whole thing just pan out the way that it's panned out. And yeah, I mean, it's good for the whole entire sport. That's the thing. When I say everybody, I'm not just saying Discraft. I'm saying the entire sport. Like, this is changing the game, and it's changing the way that things are being done now.
So you have a much maybe it's not much different tour schedule this year with touring around. You're doing probably more clinics this year than you've done in the past. What's a typical clinic like with Paul Ulibarri?
So we're running a series. Brian and I are running a series called the Demo Days, and what that entails is we have discs that you can demo beforehand, right? We have like 40 different molds that you'll be able to test out for free before you want to buy or anything, so you can try out pretty much everything. And then we go into a clinic to where him and I will do a question and answer, and then like I'll do backhand clinic, he'll do sidearm clinic. We'll kind of piggyback off of each other as far as that goes. Maybe go into some mental things, putting if we have time, and then after that, we run a random draw triples.
Oh, triples.
Yeah. And the winning team of that will each receive a tournament grip bag. So the trick is they get 2 discs with their sign up. They can choose from 3 different molds right now, but eventually they'll be able to choose from 4 different molds with our Demo Day stamp on these molds. They'll choose 2 of those, and they can choose 2 discs from their bag. And it's like a 4-disc challenge in a triples event.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Do you know if Discraft is planning on doing Ace Race again this year?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. It's one of my favorite events every year is the Ace Race. I love getting some sort of secret new plastic or secret new disc that's kind of out there, and I've got a stack of them. I was just going through some old plastic. I was like, oh my god, this is like the second ever Ace Race disc, or the just some of the feel of them. You're like, wow, this is. Yeah, I know why this didn't make it to production, or I know why this is like everyone loves this disc. So
sure.
I'm trying to. Actually, you know what? Let's forget that line of questioning. Let's move a little bit more towards the basketball. Have you been paying attention to the college basketball? How was your bracket? I know a lot of people's brackets were busted with Duke getting knocked out. Did that include you?
So my bracket was busted after like the first round, of course. One of my brackets, I had Louisville going pretty far. That was done right away. I have one bracket left where I do have Virginia winning. So I'm still in it in one of my leagues for sure. If a couple people lose and that happens, then I'll win. But Duke was lucky to get as far as they got. Like they were lucky. They got outplayed several times, and I don't know how they got through to the next couple rounds. It was a couple of the best games I've ever seen, and there was a lot of luck on their side for sure. So to see them, they can call it an upset against Michigan, but Michigan was the better team, I think, and it And it was bound to happen for sure.
Okay. All right. I know a lot of times we'll talk about other sports with you. You're a big fan of most sports. You're not much of a baseball, are you? A little bit?
I'm really not. I follow the Diamondbacks a bit, and I'm in a fantasy baseball league. I have no idea how to do. I've been in it for a year now. Last year I had no idea how to like change my lineup, and my buddy would message me almost every other day like, change your lineup, and I'm like, can't keep up with this, man. Like, this is crazy. You have to, like, with fantasy baseball, you have to change it every single day, make trades every single day, pick up pitchers every single day, different pitchers here and I don't even know how you can tell when they're playing.
Yeah, it's
so I kind of do, but I don't have time to pay attention to it, honestly. Like, we're so busy. The last month I've been on a crazy schedule.
How has team manager been? Now that are you fitting into? Are you learning more about the role of the team manager?
So honestly, not at all. So I've definitely taken a step back as far as that goes right now during the season. I've learned a little bit from Bob, but with everything coming in as fast as it came in, there's no time for me to train for that. Like, Bob is constantly working with orders and things like that. Like, the shop is absolutely, there's no room for anything. It's just work
Yeah.
for everybody. And my schedule is that as well. So I'm sure in this off season, I'm going to learn a lot more. But as far as right now, I help as much as I can, of course, with whatever I can do. Like, I answer a lot of emails and do things like that. But as far as that role, we haven't made a push on that at all.
Yeah, I imagine that the unknown coming into the season, I mean, everybody wanted and expected a big response to all the new signings from Discraft, but then with the amount of disc sales and the amount of I know Discraft is doing a big push in media, they're doing a big push, like I can only imagine the work that's going on over in Michigan right now. It's kind of ridiculous, and I can completely understand why the team manager portion probably just it's getting, on your end, getting overlooked a little bit right now.
Right. There's more, I don't want to say more important things for me to do, but I'm just really busy, and there's just no time for us to sit down and then have, like, in order for me to train in something like that, it's a tutorial. Like, I'm getting taught, and there's just no time for that right now. I'm constantly playing, running these clinics, and doing these things that are very, very important, and commentary and all those, different. It takes up a lot of time, and so I'm sure in this off season, we're gonna stay busy, and we'll definitely revisit that avenue and go down there.
It's not like you can just go to YouTube and learn how to do it like you can with so many other things in disc golf. There's no tutorial for team manager, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. But I am learning. I mean, just different things on the road, and being in charge of different things is definitely training in itself. So
yeah, lots of stuff. What I want to ask, like, what new does Discraft have on the horizon? But I have to imagine they just have all sorts of new things coming up. They seem to be coming up with new blends of plastic every other week, I feel like. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be coming out with a lot of different things. In April, usually the tour series comes out for everybody on the elite team, and that drops at Bowling Green. I'm pretty sure, obviously this is my first time being on the elite team, on their team in years and years and years, but I believe that's the drop date for most of the touring, the elite team tour disc. So that's going to be super exciting, with some great plastic on different molds and things like that. But man, I mean, the Kong has just been a hit. The Raptor's been a hit. The Soul's been a hit. Like, it's moving right along.
What is the Soul? Honestly, I don't know if I've seen it in a lot of the advertising, but I haven't seen a profile shot or anything of it. How does it fly?
Yeah, so it's like a mid range, pretty
Okay.
much. It's like a mid range. It's fairly flippy. It's a good kind of beginner disc for sure.
All right.
It's just another one of those niche discs that somebody will feel, and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is the one that I want. This one feels a little bit different than everything else, and then they throw it and they like it.
No, that's the Comet. Everybody should have a Comet in their bag. It's such a unique disc. It's such. I know you said you've been playing with it and whatnot. And I know it comes in a bunch of different plastics. I personally love the Z Comet. I've got a Z and an X in my bag. The Z is always just a touch more stable than the X, and I love them. I use them in Wisconsin. We have tons of wooded shots, and it's the disc that I go to for wooded shots more than any other disc. It's just it flies almost any way you want to throw it. I think the only thing I can't make it do for the most part is a big hyzer, because it just flips up flat for me and goes straight even when I don't want it to, when you want that little finish at the end. But it's one of my I tell everybody, like, just get a Comet, learn how to throw it, because it will improve your game, much like a lot of mid-ranges. But the Comet is such a touchy disc that if you can master a Comet, I feel like you can master almost any piece of plastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And Michael Joe is a perfect example of that. So
he definitely throws it well. He's one of the best, I guess, like a disc that you need a lot of soft touch. Like Michael Joe's the epitome for that. Like bangers and Comets and Mantis, and kind of a floaty kind of style that kind of carries for distances that, like, and then land soft. Like, he's great at that for sure.
All right, Mr. Ulibarri, what else you got for us before we let you go for the night? I'm going to give away a couple of things on Patreon yet tonight, and we're probably going to end up calling it a night here by midnight. But what new information, or what do you want to share with the disc golf world?
Yeah, no real new information. I want to say hi to my family. My mom's probably watching, so I miss you. And my girlfriend and her daughter are probably watching, and I miss them. But just if you hear of a demo day coming near you, definitely sign up. We always have pre-register sign-ups on Disc Golf Scene, and then catch me on the commentary this weekend for Jomez. I'm doing that as well for Nick Hyde, and leave some comments in there. Tell us how we did so we can get better. And then Jonesboro, hopefully I'm playing well at all these tournaments, but if not, you'll definitely be able to hear me on the mic. So
is that tougher to be on the mic the next day when the previous day you've shot below your standards?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I said, I really enjoy it. So
is it going to rain at Nick Hyde this year? I feel like the past couple of years they've had some issues with weather.
I hope not, man. That place gets so muddy. This is the first time I've been in a couple of years, so I'm hoping that I looked at the weather. I think maybe one day was skeptical.
Okay, that's not too bad. I know in the past couple of years it seems like they've just had such an issue with weather at that event, and it's such a fun course to watch filmed that the rain doesn't know justice, and nobody likes to play in rain. So
no,
Ugh.
I'd rather not, for sure. But thanks for having me, Johnny, and reaching out last week. Sorry I couldn't make it last week.
Oh, no, it's no big deal. So, all right.
I'll see you guys at Jonesboro.
Yeah, definitely. We'll keep up, like I said, keep track of Paul on UDisc. I believe Nick Hyde is on UDisc, and keep track of him the next day when he's doing next day commentary. So, and everyone go out and get those Uli Raptors when they're released. Or are there are some in stock right now, specifically for yours?
They're out of stock right now,
okay,
but they'll be restocked for after Jonesboro.
After Jonesboro, I wasn't sure if your signature.
They might even get it restocked in the next week, depending when they'll have time to run something like that. They're booked up, man.
Yeah, tell me about it. That Macbeth guy. They need to clear up some of the machines so we can get some other guys' discs out there.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure what the discs, because I know you had said that they had restocked, but I wasn't sure if that was the specific commentary disc versus your disc. But if those are one and the same,
it's a specific link for my commentary disc. So, yeah, it's been crazy that they've been selling out as much as they have been. I mean,
That's awesome.
a lot-
Get out there,
a lot of
support your
options
local
before.
pros.
Yeah.
Get out and support your local pros. Get out and support your touring pros. Get out and support all the pros out there. Buy disc. One of my favorite things to do every year is buy at least 1 or 2 Pro Series discs. I think last year I bought Val and Paige Pierce. So this year I'm due for a couple more. So I'm looking forward to April when they all drop so I can pick my favorite ones. So, Paul, thank you very much for joining the show. We will catch you probably in a couple weeks. We like to keep up with that.
Absolutely.
All
right, man.
Have a good
Peace.
night, man. Paul Ulibarri, one of our favorite guests to have on the show, as always. He's always very honest and open with all of his good and his bad. Whatever's happening with Paul is usually fair game. So I enjoy having him on the show. All right, what we need to do, though, is we need to give away 2 Patreon giveaways. One for last week, one for this week. This week, we're giving away the Disc Member Box. So once again, that is Disc Member. That is a monthly service that you can sign up for. I believe it's $25 a month. In fact, I know it is $25 a month. And you get $50 worth of goods. You usually get at least 1 piece of plastic. And then they throw in things like UDisc memberships, T-shirts, beanies, stickers. I think I have a bottle opener. So a couple of things. So we're going to give that away here relatively quickly. I am opening up my spreadsheet that I have. And if you would like to be eligible for that, you can sign up at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. We currently have 211 patrons, and I want to thank everybody. I reached out to a couple people via Patreon to let them know that the level that they were supporting at, I think a couple of people were supporting at like a $3 level, but with no cap. So if we put out 5 things, they give us $15 a month, and that's great. But I said, hey, guess what you can do? You can upgrade to like the $10 level and put a $15 cap on it, or however it works. And then you're also eligible for the next tier up, which is the clothing tier. So I want to thank everybody that actually upped and changed their pledge, whether or not they gave more money or not. I want to make sure everybody gets, for the most part, what they what the value. I want everyone to have the value in that. So it makes sense to me that people get the most of what they can, because that's something that I would like to do. I want everybody else to be able to. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to, now that we have a few more people, I need to get 1 or 2 more t-shirt sizes. So I'm going to reach out to some people on Patreon and get that. But until then, random.org is our normal site that we go to. As you can see, we have, like I said, 211. Let's go this. Bam, 211. I'm going to pick the second number that we generate. I don't know why. It's all random. No, in fact, we're going to go the first number, just because some people get annoyed when we go the second or third. I'm going to do the first and then the third. Those are the 2 people we're going to give prizes to. I've sorted them all by first name. Our very first winner tonight of the Disc Member Box. Once again, you can go out to discmember.com and sign up for that. Let them know that SmashBoxxTV sent you, because we are, it just helps. We don't get anything from it, honestly. Everything we get from Disc Member, we send out to our patron supporters. So, but if you do happen to sign up, just let them know you heard it on SmashBoxxTV. Number 110. 110 is our Christy Moore. Congratulations, Christy. Christy was out on the board. I don't know if she still is. I hope so. We will be getting you that Disc Member box. I honestly don't know what's in it. I do know the box is bigger this month than it has been in the past. Normally, it's a slightly thinner box. This one's a thick box. So I'm going to turn around and get that to you in the next couple weeks once Terry comes back from Florida. He's in charge of all shipping. So, Christy, congratulations on that. I'm going to generate 2 more numbers here, and it's going to be the 3rd number total I generate. So, after 2 more, the next number is 65, and the winning number for what we're giving away is last week's Discraft disc. I believe Terry said he had a Raptor or a Kong. I thought he said it was a Kong. We'll verify with him for sure, but we'll do it. So, that winning number is 73. Helmut Oberberger. So Helmut, who I know is overseas, we will work with you to make sure you have your disc, your Discraft Kong, more than likely. So thank you very much, Helmut. If we'll make sure to reach out to everybody and get your information so we can ship that out to you. So congratulations, Christy. Congratulations, Helmut. Thank you for being Patreon supporters every week. It means so much to us. We honestly probably wouldn't or couldn't continue to do this on a regular basis without a lot of that support. So thank you, and thank you. Do we have anything else on the board? Disc Golf Nerds talking about the April Fool's jokes. We did not talk about that. We can. I saw a couple of them. My favorite one, I think, was the UDisc spoiler mode, where you went to the UDisc page and it was blurred out from the bottom of the all the scores. So if you wanted to go to UDisc, and they had spoiler mode enabled, so you wouldn't get spoiled by the scores when you go to the scoring site. I got a real good kick out of that. I thought that was very funny and clever and kind of hit close to home. The Under Par from Innova. Innova always does a really great April Fool's. Under Par was I believe, I think they call it an AI. Maybe it wasn't an AI. Maybe it was machine learning. I think it was machine learning. It was the other buzzword that's been out there to learn what exactly you're going to do before you do it, and it actually gives you almost like a follow flight for your plastic. We saw a couple where they were hitting off trees and hitting the band of the basket. I did think that was pretty good. Again, Innova always puts in. There's always looks really nice and high quality. I saw a Discraft one where they had it looked like a phone that you'd hook a phone up to, so you can like get the true distance of your disc and speed and stuff like that. That one was okay. I wasn't. It didn't seem like there was a ton of effort put into it. It looked like just a real quick Photoshop with a funny story. And the other one I saw, I think it was from, I don't want to say the wrong place, but it was one of the retail providers that had an Innova cape and an Innova fanny pack, as we used to call them. And I'll tell you what, I'd rock that cape. Not necessarily because it's Innova, but just there was a guy in college who used to walk around with our student union with a full-size cape. Like, he looked like he was trying out for like a vampire movie, because it was that type of cape that went all the way down to his heels, and he would walk down the student union and the cape would be flowing behind him. And I always looked at him and we chuckled because I thought it was funny. But I look back and I think now, like, wow, that guy had some cojones. He didn't care. Good for him. But I think it would be fun to kind of rock a cape for a round or two. Anything else out there that we have under our chat, the YouTube chat? For those of you that are watching live or listening to the podcast, if you want to join us live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m., we are here, assuming the internet works or I don't mess something up. Tonight was 9:15, but ultimately we are there, and you can join us at the YouTube chat where we kind of keep track of everything and watch everything go by. A lot of people saying they'd cape it up. Yeah, heck yeah. Dion says he'd rock a cape. Dion, I think we could rock a cape together. I think we could do it. JVD, no love for the cornhole nerd. Sorry, Disc Golf Nerd. Sorry, I honestly did not see that. Sorry about that. I totally missed that. So, yeah, it's always the funny thing about April Fools on the internet. I kind of try to avoid the internet a little bit. I usually check Innova, but for the most part, most of the other ones are relatively uninspired to me. So I'm sorry, I missed yours. I did not see it, so I cannot say whether or not. I'm sure you had a wonderful review of some sort of cornhole beanbag. Is that what they are? So, good news. It's looking more and more like I'm going to make it out to Beaver State. I'm excited about that. Terry and I have been in talks with some of the PDGA people about some coverage, and I'm really hoping to be able to take a trip out there this year because I've never been to Beaver State. That's looking good. Working with our good friends over at Dynamic Disc about GBO already, getting that show starting to get prepped up. I got some fun, exciting stuff that we're hoping to try out, and got maybe some exciting news after GBO for a couple things, and I'm excited about some collaborations that might be coming up. Let me put it that way. Disc Golf Nerd said his was only on YouTube and Insta. So let's see here. Anything else on there? Block Party, yes. If you go to GBO, please check out the Block Party. Terry and I are usually there over at the Dynamic Disc store, where we set up inside the store and do our final podcast of the week. I don't know how many podcasts we're going to do this week, or that particular week. In the past, we've always kind of had a set. Every night we would go to a different place, wherever it was popular or kind of happening. It was usually a bar, which was always a big pain in the butt because we'd have to drag all of our equipment there and then talk to the bar people about getting their Wi-Fi and whether it would work or not. And it always was kind of a pain, but ultimately it worked out for the most part. So I don't know how many we're going to do this year. I did buy my Avengers tickets for that week, and me and EMAC and a couple other people are going to go see Avengers on that Friday night at I think 10 o'clock. I think it's a 10 o'clock showing. The next closest showing was 7, and I wasn't quite sure the timing with getting off the course. They should be off the course just fine, but getting things cleaned up and prepped for wherever we're going. So I'm excited. I'm going to go see a movie with EMAC. We're going to go see the Avengers Endgame movie. I'm pretty pumped about that because I'm a nerd like that. My wife thought it was crazy when my son was doing some origami stuff. I did make my son cry for April Fool's Day. Like, he made this, it looked like a circular ninja star almost. I want to see if I can, transforming ninja star. Let's see here. Yeah, here it is. Basically, I'll bring it up on the screen for those of you that can see. He made something like this, and he was super excited about it. We spent some time and the day before making it, and he colored it and all this other stuff. We made it out of just regular paper, and he left it on the kitchen table the next morning, yesterday morning, right where his little sister sits. So he goes off to brush his teeth in the morning. I take it, put it on top of the refrigerator, go into the recycle bin where some of the older paper was, shred the paper, set it right in front of his sister's chair. 5 minutes later, he's done brushing his teeth and getting everything out. He comes in to get his shoes on, and he's putting his shoes on, and he looks at it, and then he stops, and you can tell it's just trolling through his mind. And he looks at it again, and he looks up at me and my wife, and you can see just like all the colors coming out of him. He was so excited to bring that to school. And he's just starting to look at me like, oh, like he thought his sister shredded it because that's what she would do because she's a little kid and she doesn't know any better. And before he broke out into tears, I grabbed it from the top of the fridge. And I said, April Fools. And he loves April Fools. It's like his favorite holiday, I think, other than Christmas. He tried to play some pranks on us. He took a piece of tape and wrote a number over, the clock, thinking it was funny. And he changed out, I think he's changed out some cereal or something. And so this was my prank to him. And I handed it back to him, and then the tears started actually coming. He wasn't crying, but I think all the emotions just started to come out, and he was so excited and happy that his toy that he spent like a half hour making wasn't shredded by his sister. And he was telling me how he was going to go yell at his sister about it, but ultimately he got it. And my wife and I both chuckled, but some people called us cruel. But that's what you do. April Fools. What else do we have? Anything else out on the boards before I call it a night here? We were talking about the block party at GBO. Yeah, block party, always a fun time. Come find me, say hi, shake my hand, give me a hug, buy me a beer. Or not a beer, I don't drink beer. Buy me a drink, something like that. A taco. There's usually really good taco vendors around there. Just drop a taco off. So I would love that. Anyway, I think we're going to call it for the night. I'm going to get some information sent out to some of our podcast winners tonight, and I will. What else will I do? I'll probably render out the podcast and make sure that we have this going. I'm probably going to take a look at my computer to find out why it would freaked out earlier tonight. JT O'Brien, an unsanctioned to update. Yeah, I've fallen down on the job on that. I promise it's not on the back burner. I just haven't gotten a chance, and I'm going to reach out to Disc Golf Nerd, and Disc Golf Nerd reach out to me, and we'll get one knocked out of the books for sure. I got to do that. Don't let me forget. Is the Sam Martins asks, 2-card coverage of live again with Disc Golf Pro Tour? I don't know. I think they're going to maybe maybe scale it back a little bit, and they're going to have 3. I think the plan is to have 3 cameras on live, a reaction, a throw and a catch, and then a roaming one, which will probably maintain around the second card, rather than 2 on each. So I think that's the plan, but I don't know for I'm not 100% sure on that plan. I think that's the way we're leaning right now. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for congratulations on the collaboration. He says of the Pro Tour. Honestly, it is. I'm excited. I love to do the live, really, and I understood. I know we've talked about it before. I've understood Steve's decision earlier in the year, and I'm really glad we came to this agreement and what the different all the different stuff that had to fall into place for us to get to this position. I like doing live. I know Terry enjoys doing live. It's what we want to do. It's why we started SmashBoxx. So for us to get to do that many more events is exciting for us and on multiple levels. So for Paul Ulibarri, for Mahmoud Bahrani, sorry, I probably messed up your last name. For Terry Miller, for myself, for Dynamite Vici, this was podcast episode 241. We will see you next week, next Tuesday. I think Terry might be even back in the studio here. Maybe I might even have some really fast internet connection by then. I'm really excited. So having that really fast internet, that means for the Disc Golf Pro Tour stuff, I'm going to be able to push out at a much higher bit rate. So I think we're going to get clearer footage than maybe we've ever had in the past. So I'm really excited about that, to see how that works. So for everybody I just mentioned, I am John Van Derzen, and thank you for joining us on episode 241. You can catch us again next week, Tuesday night at 9 p.m. live, when we will see you when you step inside the SmashBoxx.